Are you searching for the best in online black radio? Then go to blacktalkradionetwork.com, helping you filter through the noise. Real talk, black talk.
The internet is full of half-truths and all-out lies. We've all seen them, and many people on social media complaining about it. Here's your chance to show and prove. WorldAfropedia.com is a black-owned and operated encyclopedia. There are several thousand articles, but we need help. We can't uncover all the truth ourselves. So please, join us and become a writer, editor, or blogger for WorldAfropedia.com today. Every little bit counts. We owe it to the future generations to put the truth out there. Visit WorldAfropedia.com, the African-centered encyclopedia, a global database of African knowledge for the purpose of bringing about global African wisdom and understanding. WorldAfropedia.com.
I'm assuming that packed into that question is the fact that it's not a workplace where everyone is of color.
Of course. I mean, most
why
workplaces.
Is it of course?
But the thing is, I mean, we're in a transformative space, where, office places cannot be homogenous in the sense that, there's only, white people in an office. There has to be. There's been initiatives like BEE, there's affirmative action where you need to now employ people, of color. But the thing is, there's also the sense of if you're qualified, then that's it. And I mean, there's a lot more people who are educated, who are people of color as well. So therefore, then we are more able to actually go into the workplace as well. So that's definitely something to put into the fore. Yeah.
Let's go to the lines. Lunati's checking in from Stellenbosch.
Hi, Lunati. How are you?
Hello. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I am good. So what do you think on the experience? Are you in the workplace right now?
Well, I'm currently unemployed, but I'm always surrounded by white people for some reason. I mean, I'm a musician studying music, and I've always been around white people, and there's nothing as awkward and like those socials after a rehearsal when you inquire as a black person, and you end up going to maybe a pub and then those black jokes actually emerge. That's when it gets actually gets a bit awkward, and not necessarily those typical racist jokes, but even the typical Trevor Noah black politician accent that just goes on and on and on and on. That makes you wonder is this a message that black people are stupid, or am I supposed to speak English in a certain way, or am I supposed to, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That makes me feel a bit awkward, and
I think
that's my experience.
Yeah, I mean, from what you're saying, I think, Lunati, it's just a sense of, you number one, you're thinking, can you actually say this? Number one.
Exactly.
And also, what does it mean when you say it? Are you endorsing it? Or what is the connotation that you're saying about me and my identity as well?
Exactly, and you keep wondering, am I black enough, or am I behaving, or am I white enough? Do I fit in? And So yeah,
absolutely.
That's my experience, at least.
I completely agree with you, because there's a point of assimilation. I think most people definitely say that, when you come into the workplace, assimilation is the number one key to somewhat being sane, and also to actually thrive in the workplace, to assimilate to the culture, which unfortunately is white, if you will, in the workplace as well. Yeah. And it's somewhat sad, because it inevitably means or connotates that you being black or a person of color, that is seen as being backwards, or it is barbaric, if you will, or it is other, if you would put it into a cloud, and it's not seen as appropriate, rather, for the workplace.
Let's see what Zaliswa has to say in Stellenbosch.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Zalisa, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I am good, thank you. So what has been your experience of being a person of color in the workplace?
I'd somewhat agree with Lunati there as well. My experience has also been, what you guys were talking about just now, always having to, conform to the white culture that you find that's predominant within the workspaces that we find ourselves in most of the time. And, funnily enough, right now, I'm in a company. I work for a company that's black owned.
Yeah.
So the experiences there, I'm always in my mind have to always compare it to some of the workspaces I've been. That's predominantly white. So I'm always having to compare. And I always find most of the time I'm always saying, white people don't do things this way, sort of like in a negative, always frame of mind.
Yeah.
Automatically you find yourself trying, with your red pen, trying to say, it's always better when, a white person tells you this, or, so you kind of, you're always caught, fighting with yourself, doubting yourself, finding yourself being intimidated a bit, somewhat.
Absolutely. No, I completely hear that. And I was reading an article earlier on, and it's titled "The 10 Realities and Racial Microaggressions People of Color Experience in the Workplace." And there was a point that really resonated with me, and you'll tell me if it resonates with you. And it says, you feel unappreciated, undercompensated, and overworked, and you are afraid to ask for compensation, a promotion, praise, or affirmation. And you've been socialized to be satisfied that you have a job. You feel guilty for not feeling grateful for that job. What do you think on that?
Yes. I'm laughing because yes. That is exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
I've found myself thinking that exactly, and you wonder, is it how we've been socialized?
Yeah.
Is it, because you come from a family that, where your mom and dad, wake up every day and they go work for a white boss, and they come back and sort of like, subliminally send those messages out that, the white man is the one that calls the shots. So you go into the workplace with those kind of, preconceived ideas of, that you are less than, and you must know your place. You must conform. Yeah.
And I think a lot of that also has to do with our history as a country as well. Now, history as especially our people of color as well. Yeah.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. And it also goes back to the place of that, you somewhat feel that you are replaceable. That's why you have to always overcompensate and work that extra mile, and make sure that you work early, you leave at 5 o'clock exactly, or if not, do that overtime. And what do you have to say on that, Lunati?
Well, I think that's true. I mean, the white person has always been the boss, and you feel that you have to conform and make the boss happy, and whatever your feelings are or whatever you have to do when as a black person, you have to put it aside and actually do everything possible to actually make the boss happy.
Yeah.
So, and it really stems from our history as a country. How we've been sort of pressed down to think in this way and to be in this box where everything revolves around the white laws and rules.
Absolutely. And there was somebody who described this to me, that it feels like an endless trial or probation period, where you constantly have to prove yourself. And for me, to some degree, yes, maybe 80%, of course, you have to prove yourself to this space, to this workplace, that you are worthy of it. But then also to some degree, which also shows the effects that our history has on us as people, as to what degree is it that you have to prove it to yourself that you are worthy of being here, and that your hard work is number one, it's earned, and you have every right to be here.
Senatemba joins us from Port Elizabeth.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hi Senatemba, good, thanks, and yourself?
I'm good, thank you. I think just to touch base on the question that was just raised right now, in terms of, I feel like a lot of times the perception is that you just want to quickly go up the ladder in the corporate sector or whatever company that you've joined. When you mention things like the topic we're talking about right now. But I think it's also essential to realize that there are people who are sufficiently qualified for jobs. Who've gone to school and who want to be given the chances to actually prove that, listen, I can actually do this job. I can actually excel and be great at it and actually earn your respect.
100%.
But it's been a bit, and it can be a bit difficult to go up the ranks in companies, especially also when you're young and black. It's a bit hard to prove yourself without actually getting the chances. So I think it's important for people to be given the chance to prove themselves, knowing that they're qualified. We're not just saying that just put any Tom and Harry into a position. Just give a person who's deserving of a chance an opportunity to actually prove themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah. Okay. And I've also found, without mentioning companies' names and things.
Please don't.
No. I've found that there's very little black representation in middle management and the executive. And you'll find that in some companies even they use things like internships and learnerships to boost their BEE score, where you'll find that that's where the saturation of the disabled female people of color are being put into. And when you're looking at the entire structure as it goes up, the color, the females, disabled people start vanishing from the ranks as you go up, meaning that there's something wrong going on there. So I feel like people should just be given a chance to prove themselves and work their way up, deservedly, of course.
Absolutely. So you're saying that the level field rather should be a lot more fair and plain, if you will.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Context of White Supremacy, Gus T Renegade, in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the system of white supremacy. Today's date, Thursday, March 9th, 2017. So I have been told this is our weekly workplace racism broadcast. We are looking forward to hearing thoughts, suggestions. If you have observations, if you have taken notes, if you have particularly, I probably should have started here, if you have figured out some things that work well, so that you're not having problems with other non-white coworkers, other white coworkers, you're not getting write-ups, you're not having any issues, they're not accusing you of being too quiet, where you are able to get your promotions, get your raises, stay on the job as long as you want to be there without issue. We need to hear from you like immediately. You should be one of the first people to dial in if you have figured out some things that work well for neutralizing racist activity on the job, minimizing problems. If you have had some issues or just even interesting observations, feel free. Dial in the number 641-715-3640. The code is 564943#. Press star 6 if you would like to participate. 641-715-3640. The code is 564943#. Press star 6 if you would like to participate. You can also, for this broadcast, well, any broadcast, but particularly for workplace racism, if you are not able or willing to dial in via the phone and you still have observations or things that you would like to share, you can email untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com, and I can share your commentary, or if you have feedback on what you've heard, or if you just have a situation that you'd like to raise, feel free, drop an email. We can include it, and you can remain anonymous if you would prefer that. And again, encourage folks, make sure we have active participation during this broadcast. This is not a segment where folks would just say, hey, I look forward every Thursday. Again, every Thursday is when workplace racism is. I look forward to Thursday evening when I get to tune in, or if I listen to the archives, so that I can hear the difficulties and tribulations that the Negroes are experiencing on their job. That's not what this is for. I am pretty sure a sizable number of folks who listen to this broadcast, if you don't have a job, if you haven't worked before, you will have a job. Even if you have not experienced racism directly, you have seen things, you have heard things. I even suspect a lot of people just reflecting on their workplace racism history. There are likely things that happened. Maybe you didn't understand it at that time if you didn't understand racism. But with having a better understanding, now you can reflect and say, oh, okay, I can see exactly what was happening there. And knowing what I know now, this is what I would have done. This is what I would have said. This is what I would have not done or not said. I think that's also very helpful as well, particularly for listeners who do not have an extensive work history. We do have younger folks who listen to the broadcast as well. That said, some of the people wrote in already. I'll try and share a few of their comments in as we proceed. I guess real quick, the segment that we opened with, I thought it was important. They ended the segment asking to be treated fair, and the bulk of that segment, I think they even started, they included that, of course, we're in South Africa on the continent, so I mean, it's tons of black people. Whites are everyday in-your-face minority, which they are worldwide. But even there, you still hear many of the exact same problems that we talk about, or some of our folks who've called in from the UK and other parts of the world called in with the exact same issues. World problem. Now, moving to some of the emails. Last week, the segment that we opened with, it was a number of white women. It was from New York Public Radio. I didn't see them, but my suspicion was that it was white women, and they were talking about sexual harassment on the job from last week, and we talked about some of the different suggestions that they gave for dealing with the situation and how big of a problem this remains. So the person wrote in, they said, the opening piece of last week's broadcast on sexual harassment was very interesting. When using affirmative action and the EEOC to terrorize black males in particular was working for white women, you didn't hear a peep out of them. The EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, is nothing, and Human Resources is nothing and has been nothing for black people for decades. The only reason they exist is to keep black people down. The EEOC representative held a meeting with us workers and warned us that false or malicious, and they have that in quotes, complaints can result in complainants losing their homes or facing stiff fines. So much for whistleblowing. I witnessed a white male coworker rubbing against my black female supervisor, and she made no report. On the same job, a white female supervisor accused a black male coworker of touching her, and he was suspended without pay for 2 months. I sympathize with black females in these positions because I know they know what the real deal is. Next up now, this person wrote in, they titled this improper pay discussion. This has been another pattern that has stood out since we've been doing workplace racism, where a lot of people should make sure read your policy and procedure. They might have guidelines for what you can do if there's a discrepancy in your paycheck, how you can resolve that. I think Roz called in before where he had the same, many people, it's not just Roz, we've had many people who've called in where this has been a problem. And for some folks, they said, I think Roz was one of them, where this is in the manual about salary arbitration. If there is a concern or if you think you have not been adequately compensated, this is the process to get that remedied. So make sure, again, same thing I said before, you should know this procedure before there's a problem. At least be familiar with it. That way it's much easier to do a review of that process than to try to learn it from scratch when you have now been short, $1,000 on your weekly or whatever it is whenever you get paid. So next person, this is incorrect or improper pay discussion. On the above date and time, I met with, another one where they put the names in. I generally try to err on the side of not doing it with the names, but I don't know if I'll be able to get away with that on this one because, got a lot of names. I guess I have to do it with the names. Okay. On the above date and time, this is a black male. I met with Ryan Burnett. During this period, I reported I was paid incorrectly for the date of February 14th when I worked at the command center. I stated that I was paid my base rate of $12.00 instead of the $14.71 the site pays for each guard. He told me that if he paid me the correct rate for that date, I would lose money as it's adjusted. His reason was I was supposed to get paid $10.50, and I was paid more than what I was supposed to receive. I had been working for 3 months at the other location, and he gives the exact address. The white person then claimed that this other site pays $10.50, and I had been told upon hire that it was $12. I asked him for physical proof, which was not presented. This raises now being told my pay will be reduced and that I have been overpaid. I still have not been paid correctly, and I'm submitting this as an inquiry. I have reason to believe there may be subversive activities and also a violation of the 5th and 14th Amendment of the Constitution. How about that? I think Mr. Fuller might say thumbs up and asking questions. Documentation, particularly anything about salary discrepancy, because if he's saying that there's even a discrepancy from when he was first hired and he was told that his pay was supposed to be $12, and they're saying, no, it's supposed to be $10.50. You should just shut up and be happy that we're giving you anything. Well, wait a minute, that sort of thing is normally written down. It's 2017. It's Twitter, something. You generally, if there's going to be a salary negotiation or any sort of talk about what you're going to be paid, that sort of thing is generally in writing. Which is why I would say it's a great idea. Have a folder, file cabinet if you've been working there long enough, whatever it is, depending on how much paperwork your job generates as well. But have a safe place where you can keep any documentation, electronic or hard copies, with any pertinent information, because you just never know. A document that you got 2 years ago might end up being crucial information. If it's got any salary information or policy and procedure, anything might end up being very relevant. So particularly if you're on jobs that accumulate a lot of paper, maybe have a safe spot at your residence or someplace. Maybe you can even keep it in your vehicle if you have a trunk. You can lock it up, or you just keep your documents in a safe spot where you can access them. They're organized, they're neat. If you're on a job where you don't have a lot of paperwork, great. You can just have one little folder, and you can just any information that you get when you get hired. You can keep your policy and procedure manual, anything else that you deem important, because you never know what you might need moving forward. With that, we'll get to the lines. There was another person who wrote in as well, so we have other commentary to read. The number, again, is 641-715-3640. The code is 564-943#. Press *6 if you would like to participate. switchboard here, so this will be an adventure to make sure that I'm doing things correctly with the new switchboard. Hopefully folks can be a little bit patient, and this will not be too challenging for Gus T. I am a victim and still learning. So the first few people who dialed in with a hand up, I think your line should be open. Feel free to share. Let's see. Other folks that are with us, folks' lines are open and have commentary they wanted to share.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Greetings to Gus the host.
Oh, I thought I had his line over. I think I muted him accidentally. Sorry about that. I said I'm still learning. I'm a little confused, but I'm going to work it out. Sorry about that, caller in Florida. If you could restart.
Oh, appreciate that, sir. Greetings to Gus, the host, the listeners, and callers. I've been making some analysis the past couple of days. Like, I can't really think of anything in the past when I was, I guess, more confused about racism. But more recently, like, I don't know if there's been a discussion on this, but to start out, when, I do, like, customer service or whatever, and, like, when you're talking on the phone to people, like, I've brought this up about how a customer might sound like a female or whatever, and, like, I'll kind of mistake and say, like, yes, ma'am, or something like that, but it'll be a male. Like, it hadn't occurred too often. But I thought I should start out with that because I've run into that kind of encounter as well as talking to females who may have sound like a male person. And, like, they will come in person, and I guess it'll kind of be confusing to tell whether or not should I address the person as ma'am or sir. But, I'm still trying to speak in the most courteous tone when assisting them providing the service if they came to pick up copies. And to add on to that, they have what's called a final judgment order for the change of name. And, you will have white and non-white people come in, and it'll be a very interesting encounter because I can tell, like, for instance, it'll be a male person. This was a white person. And, I'll ask them, like, can I look up a name? And the person will say the new name is Allison, but the name before he changed it was David. So it wouldn't come up under David. He changed his name to Allison. So he has a female name now, but he's wearing, long hair with gray streaks. And I can tell, like, the vocal tone of voice, it has like a male voice to it. But I could still tell he was, I think Mr. Fuller would call it attempted female. And, like, I looked it up under David, and it came up under that. So people are coming in getting these name changes. And I just thought I'd bring that up because I know it's been discussed about I think the degenderization. So, I found that very interesting because I'm thinking, well, should I address ma'am or sir? So I hadn't really heard much conversation on something like that in the workplace, pretty much. And to start on my next one, I've discussed this person for the past couple of months or to a year, actually, maybe a year and a half, about the white guy that was, calling black people niggers and stuff. So apparently an email went out about 2 days ago that it was like the news segment of it, but it was a portion that mentioned that there were reports. The email said there were reports of employees being yelled at and approached in the afternoons, walking to their car, and in the mornings, walking from their car. So I hadn't really mentioned it lately, But apparently, I think the irony of it is that we just had a new black guy just start working there, and there's a pregnant white female, and I know Gus remembers that I shared that I escorted this female to a car. Now, I use the term irony. This person was yelled at about 2 days ago by the same person, and she was apparently walking outside the door with the new black guy. So apparently this guy was the suspected racist was out there screaming out there in the streets when we left work, and I was told that he was called the nigger. So she told me this too. I talked to her today, but they're saying the N-word, and I try to make an effort to say nigger, and I just I look at the reaction that I get, and these are people who are using what they call curse words, and they still say N-word. But yeah, this guy was called that, and he was walking with the pregnant female. So she said she went and told personnel, and apparently this email went out. So I hadn't seen the guy recently, so I guess they contacted law enforcement and perhaps may have gotten a move. But to prove the point of white supremacy is that it took just one, perhaps maybe feeble attempt. They're like, probably didn't have to put in much effort to say, well, I just notified her just to let them know that this guy's out here. But she was saying that he's out there every day. But if you remember, I reported it to personnel, quite a few times, and to the bailiffs, and it didn't seem like nothing was really much done. And to make one last point, there was I drive this Jeep to go and pick up the mail, and the clerk from our clerk's office, he had to go to a clerk meeting throughout the state of Florida where a lot of the clerks meet up. So the Jeep was pretty much malfunctioning, while I was using it, but I didn't really drive it that far. So apparently, I had a lot of issues with the tires and the windows and whatnot, and the engine hadn't been serviced. So he was telling me, I was talking to him, he was like, yeah, man, the window started breaking off, and I had to use I had to use cardboard and tape to make a new window. And he said he got sick and all of that stuff. And I had to drive a dusted up van, while they was using that. And so basically he was saying the Jeep ended up getting serviced and the oil changed, and they got the interior detailed and the tires replaced. But see, the reason that happened was because the clerk is classified as white. So, that took priority, and they wanted to make sure that didn't happen. Not even to say that I'm the one usually driving the Jeep most of the time. So that's two powerful examples of white supremacy, and I will give it to the next person. Thank you.
Wow, I think we have heard, if memory serves, I think we have heard that before, where there was some sort of driving, or you might have to use a vehicle, company car, what have you, and the black people would end up being stuck with like the raggedy vehicles that need maintenance, or the window doesn't roll down, like somehow, some way they just always got stuck with the raggedy vehicles. I have heard that before on workplace racism. I just have to remember the person who was talking about this. But the previous incident, I think that goes back for a while on workplace racism. I think that's even before we were doing the Thursday workplace racism. We just had it on Saturday, where this white terrorist was out harassing and calling you names and what have you, and then it moved to other people. And I think you've had multiple incidents where a white person felt unsafe. Escort, Peggy, and make sure she gets to the vehicle safely. And, it became a huge safety issue immediately, where it was taken seriously, and, they made sure to solve the problem. Got this fella moved on. You said he's gone now, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen any I haven't seen any sign of them. So I guess they might have actually sent some bodies out there, some police officers to address the guy, because when I spoke to the personnel the second time during that week, she already had some kind of ID on the person from her apparently talking to law enforcement. They already had, apparently it sounded like they had the name of the guy and everything, but it still seemed like the more that I spoke with her, the more withdrawn she became, and I think even my mom had spoke to her about it, and she seemed very enthusiastic about, I guess, addressing the problem, but it seemed like she probably had some kind of discussion, maybe they went and had some kind of secret meeting and ended up, coming up with some codification as to how they can basically tell me, oh, well, you can just avoid them. And the email ended up basically telling people that they should just walk in pairs or in groups or something. But the fact of the matter is, it was her report, but it said reports like plural, but basically it was hers that made the email go out, because there was a non-white female that was really upset about this happening to me, and she pointed out who the person was, and then he pretty much started saying a bunch of vulgar vitriol toward her, and pretty much her genitals, her genitalia, and her body, a bunch of what they call sexist type comments. But that pretty much stemmed from him pretty much harassing me. So it was, this one white female's report pretty much ended up getting that email sent out, and everybody being made to take notice of it.
Wow. That white women in the workplace, we've touched on that before. We've done whole programs on their terrorist behavior in the workplace, and just one white woman feeling unsafe or yelled at or whatever it is. Black people can report this all the time, and, buddy up, whatever. Sorry you're having to deal with that, but you know how it is, niggers. And they could have done that before, like the first time. And, that's what I mean about the system of racism, white supremacy. And you could just make notes of this sort of thing, that I reported being harassed by this person and nothing was done. This one white person who really only got involved in this because black people were being harassed, she makes one report and this guy gets moved. They could have done that months ago. They could have got, they could have done it without even harassing him. They could have given him the Dylan Roof treatment. He has a Burger King and, find another block to hang out on. You can harass niggers a little bit further from, where the courthouse is. Like, easy does it. They could have done that months ago. Also, the first thing that you touched on, I don't know if that's been brought up here either, in terms of I think the term that they use is like people when they have gender reassignment surgeries or transgender individuals, as they call it, or whatever, with all that, where the person was classified as male and now they're female and they changed their name and all that. I have not heard that come up in workplace racism, but I am sure that is going to be a growing concern. So if anyone is having that pop up in the workplace or is having to deal with that or training around that, I'm sure if we have any folks who work in university, college settings, I'm sure would have some dialogue maybe about that, or students certainly. If you have commentary on that or feedback, feel free as well, because that's probably going to be a growing issue in the workplace for a lot of people. Other folks, if you have a hand up, commentary you would like to share, again, no spectating, feel free. Lines should be open.
Good evening. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to share one incident, and then I wanted to go over some general things that I've observed. But in particular, I had just started a new job. There was a supervisor there who was a black male. I was there to replace him eventually. So when I initially got there, I was there doing training, getting training from him. So we had a timeline already set to where I was going to replace him, and he was going to get ready to go ahead and transition on to another job. So all of a sudden, maybe weeks before I was due to replace this black male, I got a call from my supervisor saying, "Okay, you're in charge now. You're the supervisor now. It's official." And I was a little confused. So what I found out later was that the black male that I was supposed to replace had been accused of sexually harassing a female. This female, to me, she looked like she could be accepted as white, but she had, a Spanish or a Latin last name, but she, she used to always dye her hair blonde. I'm not sure what I'm pretty sure her natural hair color was darker, but to me, she could pass as white. And so I was very shocked because I thought I didn't see this black male doing anything like that. I have no proof that he didn't do it or did do it, but I just didn't see him doing it. And also this, I don't know, I want to say white female, I assume she's white, was very demure, very meek, very quiet, pleasant, very, courteous most of the times, always smiling, but never talking loud, very soft voice, always smiling, very courteous for most of the time. So it was very shocking to me. I just didn't see this happening. So in the meantime, they moved this black male to another location to work, and I was the supervisor, so I had interactions with this white female, and she would, again, I would give her orders to do something, and she would carry it out very pleasantly. She would always speak, always smile, everything. Until one time I did give her directions to do something, and then she was not courteous. She kind of was sarcastic with me, and I kind of told her, "Hey, what I just told you is, I don't need any opinion of yours. I just need you to carry out what I told you." So she kind of, smirked a little bit and went ahead and did what she did. So later, this black male, I kept in contact, and he would say, "Hey, I did not do anything to her," but he did go out on a date with this white female, and he had brought her flowers, and he just thought that she was the sweetest person in the world. And and then she requested to do to have a certain duty from the black male, and he denied it. He gave that duty to someone else. It was a duty that would have got a lot of attention from some of the higher supervisors and managers and stuff like that. So he said he gave it to someone else that he thought would better suit to do that job. So and right after that, that's when she accused him of sexual harassment. So they moved him out of the workspace to another workspace. The people, the managers that were there, they wouldn't even look at him, wouldn't speak to him. And I'm talking about white people, of course. They wouldn't speak to him. They didn't show him much of support. So they launched a big investigation and found that everything was unfounded. Like there was no sexual harassment. No, there was nothing or whatever. This girl, she wasn't reprimanded at all. This guy was looked at as some type of, pervert, so to speak, some type of brute of a black male. This guy was coming to me crying every day. I could tell he was really stressed out. And again, he didn't get any sort of support from the managers and the higher ups. So, and I just thought that this female, I think she wanted to get back at him because he didn't assign her this duty or whatever, and also she wanted to. She was eventually moved to another workspace too, and I think that those were her main objectives. That's it for that case. Also, just general observations for me. Whenever you have a mission or some type of objective to reach, some type of goal that you want to reach, and you have to go through white people to meet that goal or that objective, they will do anything to deter you, just to irritate you, to increase your stress levels, or keep you from reaching that goal. It can be anything from the most minute task on up to something big. And I just want to say, like, whenever you're interacting with them, you know that you have to go through them to get something done. What they like to do is, and we've talked about it here before, but they like to talk fast to where they try to confuse you. They use cliches, a lot of buzzwords, a lot of jargon. If they have a certain specialty or something that you're not, privy to that information, they use a lot of buzzwords and cliches. They're downright discourteous at times. Sometimes they feign ignorance, depending on what it is. They pretend like they don't know what you're talking about. They overtalk you. They send you to some type of another person there where they know you won't get results, so they give you the runaround, so to speak, or have you on a wild goose chase. And they insult your intelligence by explaining something that they know that you already have mastered, and so they'll start explaining something very simple just to irritate you. You're like, hey, why are you explaining that to me? We're talking about something else, and you're telling me, how to do my ABCs or something, or something simple. And or they'll just change the subject. So I just encourage everyone to, and again, most people on this line, they know this, but write things down as much as you can. Whenever you're interacting with them, document everything. Again, ask many questions. And when you ask a question, ask another follow-up question, just to make sure you're clear, because they're gonna try to make you seem like you're stupid, you're dumb, you're slow. And ask them to explain it step by step, whatever you need to have done or whatever needs to be done. And that's all I have. Thanks for letting me share.
Outstanding. I guess with that first situation, that happens on a regular harken back to last week's clip where the white women were complaining about how tough they got it in the workplace. I can only say, we talked before about having a code. You certainly do not want to be dating white people, period, much less coworkers. And that might even, I know some people, that's just their code regardless. White people, non-white people, whatever. I don't do any sort of quote-unquote dating or sexual activity with people I work with because that can get really bad. It can cause a lot of problems. If the one goes bad, it can mess the other one up, mess both of them up, just make it a really difficult situation. Certainly with whites, and that means I wouldn't be doing any, coffee date, lunch date, nothing. That is just asking for all kinds of trouble, particularly if people on your job have seen you, or seen the two of you hanging out or talking on the phone, hanging out at one another's office or workstation, all of that stuff. Major, major problem to be avoided, and certainly white people waste a lot of our time. Other folks that we have not heard from have commentary as well.
May I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
So first of all, I want to, I've been listening to the podcast, and I've been trying to get on, make the time to get on. So I'm very grateful for this space for us to kind of express ourselves. I kind of want to focus first on kind of what I've experienced over the past into now, and then get into a very specific situation that's happening now. So I want to say that looking at myself now, I always like to think, or, I might tell my husband, like I've really grown in, how I deal with racism at work. And I just want to start with a specific story about when first of all, the context is I kind of work in like in a corporate setting. Usually I'm like the only black girl. Usually there's, white women who come from money or, and they just kind of, I'm just there and I'm not the person that you would, and I always assume that's in my skin. I'm not the person who you would let go in front of the client. I'm a communications professional. I deal with a lot of documentation and whatnot. And, in the past, I always hated having to kind of get in line. And I would find myself fighting a lot or standing up for myself a lot. Not really even fighting, but I would say standing up for myself a lot. If you lie on me, which I find always found, that's what white women do, is they lie on you. And especially whenever it's something that they're responsible for doing wrong, it's, I'm always like kind of the first person. Like, and a lot of times I'm like, how did I get into this? Like, how did I? And a lot of times I would stand up for myself and I would say, hey, well, here's proof. Here's some emails. I'm not really sure what the problem is. And no matter what, just for standing up for myself, I would kind of like, put down or let go or whatever. Just and just wondering how did I get. But I would say like now, I'm a little older now, and I think it's sad that I have to say this, but I have learned to kind of, just play my part, go to work. I have bills to pay. I have student loans. I have a home. There's certain things that I realize that I have to do in order to survive, in order to have a job. And I am, and I hate saying, I am blessed to have a job, but it's like I am blessed to have a job. Especially in my field. So I'm going to try to, be quick about this. When I first started my gig now, and this is with a pretty prominent organization, when I first started this job, I'm managing a project, documentation, communication for a project, and there's a white woman on my that is my colleague, and she's managing the communications for another project. I want to kind of start off by saying she's very kind of homely. She wears sweatpants. She wears, sweaters, hoodies. Doesn't do her hair. I'm very sure she doesn't wash. I think maybe she washes like on Mondays or something. And like she kind of walks around the office all day. She'll even come to my office, come to me and be like, hey, you want to go for a walk, or hey, you want to get coffee, or hey, have conversations. And I'm like, I'm really busy. I don't have time for this conversation. And trying not to be rude, because I've learned over the years, don't be too rude to white women. Some way, somehow, they'll find a way to make you out to be this terrible person that you're not. But what really is kind of crazy is when I first started this gig, she came up to me after a while, after I kind of got acclimated. She said, "Oh wow, you're really organized. I'm not that organized. You should stop, because you're going to make me look bad." And at first I thought I didn't really hear it, but I was like, wow, like that was like really. It was just really bold. Like, usually white women are very, I would say, docile. They act like, they won't say anything really out loud to me. I can feel it, but they won't say it. And she just kind of said it. And it wasn't the last thing that she said to me. I kind of haven't kept track of everything, but it wasn't the last. And then recently, what's interesting to me is that I keep to myself a lot at work. I keep to myself. I don't get caught up in what she's doing or whatever. And a lot of times, she tries to get me involved in what's going on. I heard something was going on recently. I kind of, kept to my work, but I heard something, and our boss, our program manager, came up to me and was like, "Hey, I'm going to need you to do a check on someone's document." And I'm thinking she wants me to check the new person's document, because that's typically what we do. I find out a little later, whenever I go to ask this white woman who I'm speaking about, I go to ask her a question that's really important, and I see that her eyes are watering. I'm like, why? I was like, what's up? Like, why are you? I was like, do you have allergies or something? And she's like, something like that. And I realize she's crying, and then I'm like, well, let's, I'm trying to be nice. I'm like, okay, well, what's up? Like, get it out, because I really have something important to ask. And she's like, yeah, well, you probably heard stuff was going on. I was like, no, I really haven't. And apparently, she really messed up some things, and so she's kind of in trouble, and it turns out that's why. That's whose documents I have to check. I have to check her documents. And she's like, and I really didn't want to, make everything, so hard on everyone. And, she's crying, and she's trying to go bad for her, and I really don't, because now I have so much more work to do. It's like I'm being punished because I have to do my work. Then I have to take care of her project because she can't obviously do her job. I don't know why she's still here if she can't do her job. But the crazy part is, just a few weeks ago, we were speaking to my program manager, and my program manager, she was giving us, some things that she wanted us to do, and specifically to the woman, she told her, hey, I want you to make sure that kind of, some SOPs get done, and if you need help, reach out to me. She was like, reach out to her, and she'll help you, whatever. And the first thing the white woman said in response, not even like the first, like it was just like an immediate response. She looked at me and she said, yeah, I'm going to crack that whip. And I was thinking to myself, like, it took everything within me not to backhand her. And I was just like, did she? And then I looked at my program manager, and they both kind of acted like it wasn't a big deal. And it probably to them wasn't a big deal. But I kind of walked away very, very upset. And I don't want to keep the line too much longer, but I feel so terrible. One, because the old me would say something about that, would stand up for myself, and me now is like, I have bills, I have this, I have that, and I have to kind of keep putting up with this nonsense, and it's just interesting to me, the things they say, the things they do, her constantly trying to make me look bad, or always trying to, the other thing is she's always trying to delegate work to me. That's not her job to do, but I hear her sometimes talking to other people like, hey, Sheree could do that work. Or it's like, wow, like, how did you, like, why are you out soliciting work for me? And really, she has no, and the crazy part is, so many times she said to me, man, I really don't have anything to do. I really could take on more. As a matter of fact, if you need help. And it's like, yeah, you're out soliciting work for me, and my project is very heavy. So, I kind of want to just express the disdain I have for the fact that I have to kind of, take this nonsense. And, well, maybe I don't. Maybe I'm looking for advice, but I also want to kind of say, these are the kind of things that I've always been dealing with, and I'm not sure it's ever going to end. But that's it. I'm going to end on that.
Thank you kindly for sharing weeping white women. We had a number of those incidents from last week, and I'm even reminded of Vincent Woodard, for people that are following the book club, The Delectable Negro, tomorrow, coming up again, same time. But last week he talked about how white women on the plantation, they would consume the psychic energy of black females, and that phrasing stuck with me from last week, and I think that happens in a variety of ways all the time, particularly on the job, because I think we've had a number of folks who've called in just in the last month and previously, but especially in the last month, they've said white people on the job will start crying and, oh, I'm having problems, and my children, they're killing squirrels, and I don't know what to do, and my marriage is, not good, and I botched all of last month's reports, and, you have to console, oh, cheer up, Becky, it's all right, and let's get you in, and just draining, like, I don't have work to do this, and it's not just white women, white men as well. In fact, one of the people that called in more recently, it was a white man that was doing this, would turn around and just want to talk every 5 minutes on his coffee break, or he would just get bored, or just want to come around and see what the niggers are up to. And let me tell you about my weekend, what I'm going to do, when I don't have a little free time from work. Just that sort of thing is rampant, and we talked about different ways to try to diffuse that as best you can moving forward, and not having to give so much of your energy. And again, that's another one where they're wasting your time, where you could be getting your stuff done, and you got to pay attention to them and listen to them, gab about nothing. In terms of the work loads. I think that's something that people have noted before, where the white people, they get to come in and they get, easier projects or less work. And then to top it, the whites with less work are going around and soliciting work for you. With that sort of thing, I don't know if folks have suggestions to try to correct that, to have it be a more equitable sharing of tasks and duties. If folks have suggestions or thoughts on that, feel free. I guess the only thing that I would say in terms of the woman, like when they make those snide remarks, cracking the whip, and you said that it really took a lot for you to remain codified and managing your emotions. We talked about that a lot last week as well. Just expect those sort of comments. We are behind enemy lines on these jobs. This is what it means to be racist. We get to make these, and we've had a lot of people over the years who've called in with that sort of commentary as well, where white people make those kind of whips or make the whipping sound while they're on the job. Just other things that just kind of let you know that, hey, I'm in charge. This is the plantation, and you know where you are. You know what your role is going to be. Like, just to do it in a real subtle way. And as you said, other whites, she didn't mean anything by that. Quackity. I say that all the time. And, she says it to me and I'm white. She didn't, mean anything. You're being too sensitive. Just, lighten up, have a little fun. Just expect it and make sure that you do the same thing that you did there. Manage your emotions. Keep your cool. Not even respond to that. That's what I expect racist women to do. Did any folks have suggestions on any of the commentary that we have heard thus far? The number again, 641. The code 564943#. Any folks have comments, suggestions on what they've heard thus far, or if you have your own comments you would like to make about your situation, feel free.
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Greetings, everybody. This is Amy. I kind of want to reiterate something that Gus said in the previous caller's situation on not letting white people take your time at all. I mean, I think it's all circumstantial in how you approach setting up those kinds of boundaries. But I think that they're really, really, really important because I consider them major acts of terrorism. I think, it's not bombs being dropped all the time, but it's this white person is constantly talking, or the white female who wants to cry about whatever. I consider those major acts of terrorism. So I, implore folks to figure out whatever way is going to work best for them. I don't talk with white people at all, ever, at all. Not even about racism. There's no point, unless they're on this show and we get to question them in this context. But other than that, there's, for me, really no point because there's no good that's going to come out of it in my experience. I could be incorrect. That could change in the future. But one of the things that I wanted to comment on for the clip that was played at the beginning of the show is that when we constantly say we just want the opportunity to prove ourselves, there's never going to be, in my opinion, that opportunity to prove ourselves because I have come to the conclusion that to be black means that you're a nigger, and to be a nigger means that you're non-human, and to be non-human means that you'll never be as good as someone who is human or superior human, which means that you can be as intelligent and all these other wonderful attributes and be better than everybody at everything. When it doesn't mean anything. I don't think that we can make white people ever see our humanity. And if we can't make them see our humanity, then we certainly can't make them see our worthiness of anything. And even if we do rise to the occasion, and I'm saying that sarcastically, what white people will do is just say, well, that's just a really well-trained nigger. And I think when we look back on history, we'll see that we never not excelled at many different things. We've never not been great at many different things. So the whole conversation that we just need opportunity is, I feel like, incorrect and kind of just continuously feeding the system of racism, white supremacy, and making us think that this problem is our problem or a lack on us. It's our fault. We haven't been doing the right things. There's not enough of us doing the right things. So white people just feel like how they feel, and that's not the case at all. And then also, in the same vein, I think it's also very important to recognize that these white people didn't necessarily earn their position. There are many, many white people, a lot of white people in all kinds of positions and places who aren't very intelligent, who aren't very articulate, who don't know how to spell, who don't speak proper English, who can't do the work, who are lazy and unambitious, and yet they still get these positions. So I think when we're talking about those kind of things, I think it's real, and when those kind of things, racism in the workplace is what I'm trying to say. I think it's very important to realize, like, the fault is not ours, that the system mandates. It's for their protection. That means that they know they need people to get paid, and their men need to stay employed, or unless they're going to, revert to crime. And, like, they know these things. The fault isn't ours, and we don't need opportunities to prove ourselves to white people so that they can validate our worthiness. And no, it's not working. If it would have, we would have been there already, because we've been doing that for a long time. One of the things I tried that worked, moving on, thank you. One of the things that I tried that worked well was I needed a break. I've been going hard and heavy, and I needed a break. And so I was like, how am I going to get this break? Well, I'm going to have to call out. I didn't really feel like trying to go about it the right way, which could be incorrect, but it's what I chose to do. And when I thought about my chessboard that I have laid out in this particular work situation, what would be the best way for me to maneuver? I have set it up that folks know that I am an on-time person. I do the job. I am professional. So I can pull a card. I'm not calling out all the time. I'm not making up stuff all the time. So I pretty much just said I was sick. I needed the time. And I went ahead and gave even like a little story. And I called on my white girl experiences and how well they do it, and to see if it worked for me. And it worked that one time. Now, I don't think I could try it again this weekend, which would be great. But it did work, and I did it all in writing. So when I got approval for it, it was in writing. And no one can turn around and say that I did something incorrect. I gave enough notice, and it worked out. So I would just say, when we, create the environment, you can bend within the environment. The last thing I'll say is I made a commitment to try my hardest to share whatever in the best way that I can. And a lot of people end up talking to me about workplace racism. It's like the minute you start talking about white people and they realize you're one of those black people who's not really rocking with white people, they're like, well, let me tell you about this white person. And I'd be like, all right. So, but they'll also start talking, there's a lot of black self-hate, and there's a lot of, denigrating conversations about black people. And so I always stop that, try to teach that, the one thing that we can do is be kind, compassionate, and patient with one another, and try to lead by example, because we don't have a ton of models that model proper behavior. So we really got to make proper behavior be the cool thing, and not like being slacking off and, not really caring, be cool. Like being on point is cool too. And we can do that, those of us who, take that challenge. And so far, as I'm talking to people, it seems that they, like, when given that kind of encouragement, saying that you can model behavior, and they'll kind of, and I'm not the first, like, I remember Mr. Fuller saying something similar, like, if you're that quiet one over there reading, such and such is going to come by you and be like, so what's so different and special about you? And you'll just be the one doing the right thing. And they'll be like, you know what, I think I like how you're doing stuff, because they all about to get fired, now I want to get fired. And you could be that person kind of. So I've been trying it to get to the point, and people have been seeming receptive. I'm still not helping white people. That's just part of my code. I'll put that out there. I'm not. So even in class and this group project that I have to do with white people, you either do the work or you don't. And when I write my evaluation, I'm not going to lie. And that's just going to be what that is. But thank you very much for listening.
That is one I wish I had when I was a student myself. And this is, I don't remember having to do this in like high school or kindergarten anywhere. This is only in a university setting where you have to do group projects, and then a part of the grade for like the group project is you have to evaluate the people that you worked with. Like, did they contribute? Were they on time? And, the quality of their contribution. Man, oh man, most of the groups that I was in at the college level, the white people were just lazy, worthless. Maybe they were, the smartest folks in the universe and are doing great things now, but in terms of group work, no, they were not the ones who had all of the stuff together, had all of the assignments, pristine notes, just hooked it up at all. And I remember feeling it like, oh man, do I want to, mess up their ranking or mess up their grade? Yes, no sympathy at all. I think I said earlier this month about we should not be humble in the workplace, and if they ask us to do an evaluation of our performance, we should not be saying, oh, well, I'll just give myself a 4. If 5 is the best, I'll just say I'm a 4. Or, if they ask a letter grade, I'll just give myself a B. No. A, 5s, whatever the highest mark is, I need that plus 1 because I'm doing this and I'm a victim of racism and have probably had to deal with all kinds of trifling racist sabotage in addition to all of my duties and responsibilities. So no humility when you evaluate yourself. Be relentless if you get an opportunity to evaluate other potential racists that are your coworkers or classroom setting. Other folks that we have not heard from at all. Other folks, if you have commentary, if we have not heard from you, if you have suggestions, or if you have your own situation you want to discuss.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Greetings to you, the hosts, the callers, and the listeners. So I wanted to, for my workplace racism, talk about my experience in real estate again. And so today, I'm a real estate broker now, and I own my own company. So I'm working all day. So I was taking a break from working to replace my telephone because I cracked my telephone. And I decided I would meet up with my mother, and we went and we looked at a couple phones. And actually, I gave them a phone that I got from somebody. Anyway, I'm handling that business. I'm talking to a young Mexican lady who was helping with the transaction. A male who identifies as white or classifies as white, but clearly had a little tint to him. But he clearly classified himself as white. He was working there also at this phone store, and he takes the liberty to take pictures. Since me and my mother were there, and we have afros, so our hair is, we have some length to our hair, and so I guess he decided he would take pictures. And so he started taking pictures of other things in the room first, like, the stuff on the wall, whatever the display was. Then he goes outside, or he keeps trying to take a picture of me, and I nudge my mom. I'm like, this guy's taking the liberty to take pictures right now. And she said, yes, she noticed. And, the guy can hear us and everything. He's still going about taking the pictures of little things, and now he's about to take a picture of us. I'm looking at him, so he decides not to take the picture. He steps outside and takes the picture from outside, but it's a glass window. So, of course, he's still just photographing us, like National Geographic or something. And I told there's another white lady, person who identifies as white, they're working, and I told her, I really don't want to be photographed. The guy needs to ask if he wants to photograph us. And I said, maybe there's a form that you have that, I can sign. There's like these documents that, when people take pictures of you, some company takes a picture of you. There's like disclosure documents that, they're going to use your picture for X, Y, and Z. And so, I was asking her for those documents, let's go ahead and sign those right now. And so she was like, oh, well, we don't have those. And he was just taking pictures because he's here for the day. He's something about, like corporate management or something, and he's just helping the operations or whatever. And, but I don't appreciate my picture being taken. I really don't care what what you have going on. Don't photograph me if I don't want to be photographed. Just photograph me and my mother. And anyway, the guy, he comes back, and, I told him to come over and speak to us. And I told him, I noticed that you were photographing me, and you were photographing my mother. You have the document, that disclosure that I mentioned before. You have that document. Perhaps we need to sign that right now. And then he's like, I wasn't taking photographs of you. I said, no, you very clearly photographed me, and you was photographing us. And I said, I don't want to be photographed. You need to ask my permission to photograph me. And so he was, he said, I'll just delete it. But he's getting, I guess it's a sin because I questioned him at all. But, I'm not yelling or anything. Nobody's yelling, but you can just kind of tell there's like another black man who is another customer. And he's just looking, he's like, dang, or whatever. And then another black male who's the employee, he's getting a little upset at me. And, I'm really not trying to be rude. And honestly, I didn't even care about being rude. I'm just saying, don't photograph me. And so he's like, I'll delete it, the white guy who's standing beside me, I'll delete the photograph. He opens up his little iPad thing, and he has a bunch of pictures up. He said, I didn't photograph you. He said, he keeps denying he photographed me, and I was like, no, but you clearly did. And he said, where? And he started like scrolling. He would like scroll up, scroll down, scroll up, scroll down, but like to where you could barely see the photographs. And it's like, I could see you playing the game. But I'm like, it's the photograph you took when you was outside in particular. And he said, oh, this one. And he had like two of the photographs the same. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I'll delete it. But he was saying a couple of things, in between, but, it's just kind of like I'm giving him a hard time. Anyway, he deletes the photograph. And he goes back. The black guy starts yelling at the Mexican lady when she asked him a question. And when we left, me and my mother left, my mom was like, what was up with that, the black guy? And I was like, I think he, was upset that the white guy was upset. She said, yeah, that's what I was about to say. But I just wanted to say that was just a little bit of an experience, because people don't really photograph me, while I'm in a black neighborhood. But white people, I've had this a lot. They'll just photograph me. Like whenever I'm doing something, I come to an event. It's like, oh, now it's time for photographs. I've seen that. I've recognized that. I don't know what they're going to use it for. But yeah. About the last thing I was going to mention was about there's a friend that I have who was trying to enter into real estate as far as the agency side of it. And she took her classes, finished her classes. One of the white brokers that had helped her mother, she writes on Facebook. That this girl, she says that you have a big ugly, she said, you big butt ugly monkey, you'll never enter into real estate. And this is in writing, and this is a real estate broker, one who classifies as white. And it didn't seem like it was a real big deal, but some people could brush it off, but it stopped the young lady from entering into real estate. I was trying to, tell her, you're going to deal with a lot of this in real estate, but you just keep moving and, give the woman consequences. Writing, put everything in writing. That's why I asked the guy, where's the document we need to sign? But that was what I was wanting to share. Thank you.
Fascinating. Absolutely. That sort of stuff, particularly if it's on social media, like, man, screenshot. Like, don't get discouraged. Like, screenshot immediately. That sort of thing, you can at least cause them a few problems maybe for 24 hours or so. It might get picked up on local news or the local newspaper or what have you, and cause her to have to waste some of her time and energy explaining what she meant, why she would say such a thing. It sounds like something that a racist would say. Why would you be, calling black people ugly monkeys? But ugly monkeys, no less, and sounding as though you don't want to see this person succeed in real estate. Just take a screenshot. Same thing I said to the black female before. Just really important because they're going to do that sort of thing. Exactly, Paula just said they're going to do a lot of. You got to expect that, whether it's on social media or in your face or wherever it is. They're going to make those type of comments. They're going to say those type of things, and that's part of the design to erode black self-respect. That we can solve this problem and that we can do lots of other things. So yeah, just expect it. Hopefully she will recuperate and persevere. That's something we can all apply in all areas of people activity, whatever our chosen career is. Persevere, keep your black self-respect up, and expect that they're going to have all sorts of disparaging things. You could be brilliant. You could be the greatest person ever in your field, and you're still just, a mildly interesting Negra to racist man, racist woman. Other folks we haven't heard from.
Can I be heard? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Oh, greetings to you, Gus. I'm glad you got my email. I appreciate it. I know you're still running the board, so no offense taken. I totally understand. I'm a victim, too. I just wanted to speak on a couple of things, and then I have my own workplace observations for today. I found the discussion, one of the black males was speaking earlier about a coworker who dated a white female, went out on a date with her, and then that same person did a Carolyn Bryant on him and basically lied. And he ended up, going through a lot of terrorism dealing with white people. And that speaks to what I've said numerous times, especially when it comes to tragic arrangements. And like I said, when it comes to white females, I spell that word F-E-E-M-A-L-E, because when you mess with white females, they make you pay. And sadly, he paid. And that is something we should really listen to and let other people hear so they know to stay away from them. The other thing, when you discussed, it was one of the write-in stories that you read, and you said something that I find excessively important. When you discussed holding on to documentation for as long as possible, because when I went through and like you said, I'm definitely one of those people who dealt with not being paid properly, and I had to go through the proper arbitration to facilitate that. So that is something you should go through your workplace manual and read about that. And if it's not addressed in the manual, ask them in HR, how do we go about handling this, and is that something you can add to the manual? Because that is something that might come up, and it's very important. But with me, in regards to the admonition about saving documentation, when I was collectively terrorized by 3 white female vats of mayonnaise, and they collectively were harassing and terrorizing me, and they did not train me properly. And after quite a few months of, not even quite a few months, it was almost a year of me asking for training, and I talked to the owner about it, I talked to the VP of sales and marketing, I talked to my immediate supervisor, which was one of the white females that was terrorizing me, and then the 2 white female coworkers that were supposed to train me from the very beginning and never did. And when they came to a collective understanding that they wanted to practice further racism by getting rid of me after terrorizing me for almost a year, we had this meeting. And when I went to the meeting, I had almost a year's worth of documentation. Every email that I sent to the owner, to all those different people who I CC'd on those emails, I saved every one of them. I saved every bit of documentation that they ever gave me. And it's something that you will, like Gus said, you will never know how that one specific piece of paper with that whatever information they had might come in handy down the road. So I definitely agree with that. Save as much as possible, especially when it deals with company policy, protocol, how to do certain things, because I've had that happen even at the job I'm at now, where they sent out this information regarding a new phone number for the members to use to call us. I had a review. Every month they do about maybe 7 to 8 reviews of the calls that you have with the members that call in. And the white female terrorist that did my review actually took all of these points away, and she cited, one of the main things she cited was that I gave out the wrong number. And I looked at this and I said, well, the number that I gave out was actually a number that the company provided. They put out a weekly blast email with weekly and daily blast email with any changes that are being done in the company or any changes to anything that we have to do. So I saved that email. And I actually went to my supervisor. I said, the information that I put in reference to the number being incorrect was a number I got from the company, and when they changed the number to the number that the quality person who was reviewing my call, when they changed the number or went back to the old number, which is really what it was, they never sent out any information to update us on that. So she ended up having to give me those points back because of the fact, and I ended up getting a way better score simply because she was being a white terrorist who didn't even know her own job. So absolutely, I agree with you 1,000% about that, Gus. And I wanted to ask the female who was dealing with the white psychopath who was harassing her about the work she does and basically delegating work to her when she had too much work to do in the first place. I wanted to ask, was her immediate supervisor, was she a white person or a non-white person?
White person.
Okay. What I would ask is, because especially if you're in a situation where you're being overloaded with work and then you have a white person who's telling you that she does not have enough work to do, but yet she's delegating work, I would ask, what is the protocol for equitable distribution of the workload in here? Because this is what my situation is, and I would show them, hey, come to my computer and see all the work that I have here. And on many occasions, you know, I'm having the situation where this other coworker is delegating work to me, and I'm already overloaded with work. So I want to ask you something. Is it part of her job description to delegate work specifically to me? And is that something that is a part of the company policy where you have a coworker that's on the same level as you, adding work to what you have to do, and then in passing conversation, the same coworker is telling you, hey, she doesn't have enough work to do? Like, I would just ask, is that her job? Is that a part of her job description? Is that something that we do within this company as far as, because if that's the case, I can delegate the work that I feel that is overwhelming for me to her, and that will help me as well as help the company. So I would definitely ask about that just in reference to her behavior in regards to delegating the work. And what I would also do is, if you can, the next time she comes to your desk, and matter of fact, anytime, record everything. Because the next time she comes to you and says, I don't have enough work to do, if you bring that up in the conversation with the supervisor and she tries to go back and say she didn't say it, oh, I have it. Oh, it's Tuesday, we had a conversation, here it is. This is what she said. And she can hear it for herself. So that way it can be brought to the attention of the higher-ups that you have a situation that's unpalatable, and that way maybe they might be able to do something to instate an equitable distribution of the workload so that you're not being overloaded. And also they might be able to check that white female unless they come back and tell you that is the policy and it's okay. Then if that's the case, I would immediately start delegating work to her. If your supervisor says, yeah, oh, yeah, we delegate work amongst you, okay, fine. Well, I have about 10 different cases. I'll pass them on to her, and maybe that'll help me because, you know, she's told me she doesn't have enough work to do. And I would leave it at that. My workplace observations, very, very interesting. Today, we had a what they call an off-site lunch meeting. So it was about 4 people on my team, 4 people on another team, and my white female supervisor was overseeing the overseer of the whole thing. So we went to this off-site location where there was like a room there, and we were all in the room, and we were doing all these exercises on difficult conversations and how to have difficult conversations both on the job if you're dealing with what they call internal customers, which would be other people from other teams or other departments, and how to have difficult conversations. Sometimes it might even translate into your personal life. So there were all of these different exercises and pointers that were going on, and at one point they cordoned us off into 2 teams, and I had actually it was pairs of 2. So it was about 8 of us in pairs of 2, and I was saddled with this fat white vat of mayonnaise. And I'm sitting there, and they asked us to like outline a specific situation that we dealt with, and whatever the emotional feelings that were internal, and then what you actually said in the conversation that might have differed from what you were feeling emotionally. So I gave her my incident. Like I said, I don't give them insight into my my psychology, so I obfuscated here and there. But she ended up telling me this story about this situation where she hello?
Sure.
We can hear you. Sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry. She had gotten a review, and in the review, she said that she didn't understand what she did wrong, and she felt that she was belittled, and she just basically gave up and just kind of said okay to whatever was said to her, and she started crying. So I just looked at her and I said, "Wow, you're a fat white piece of mayonnaise. You mean to tell me as a white female that you cannot do something about feeling belittled by another white person?" And I sat there and I was just looking at her, and I'm just like, wow. this is how, like you were saying, that emotional vampirism, and I'm not giving into any of that. And her breath smelled horrific. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, well, okay. Well, what did you do about it? She said, well, I just kind of gave up, and I just kind of, said, okay. And I was like, wow, this is the kind of stuff they do. And the average black person who's more confused would get so wrapped up in her emotional response in retelling the story, and then at that point cater to her. So I didn't. I just sat there and I just looked at her, listened to what she had to say, and then I just put that in my head about the whole white female science and whatnot. It nauseates me. So then my supervisor ends up talking about herself. And she said that she discussed the fact of one of her shortcomings is the fact that she thinks she's right all the time. And I'm like, well, that sounds like white supremacy right there. Then she said she has a habit of over-talking people because of the fact that she thinks she's white. She thinks she's right. So, well, white and right. They put them all together when they try to, psychosocially condition us to think that they're right about everything. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, you have the average white supremacist mentality. And when they went through all the negative aspects of what conversations can entail, the vast majority of those negative traits were white supremacist traits and things that I'm from a couple of the other black coworkers that were in that specific meeting today, they have also experienced. So I wasn't able to discuss it with those coworkers on the floor in that moment, but these are a couple of these coworkers are coworkers that I've had conversations about racism with. And I'm sitting here like, she's basically telling white supremacy and how it's practiced on the job via this whole difficult conversation thing this exercise that we're doing. And I was like, I hope these people are actually paying attention to what she's saying, because I'm paying attention, and it just gave me further insight into her psychopathology and how she as a white female functions. And the other thing I observed was that in the meeting, she took her shoes off, and she had her nasty, pasty white feet on the parquet floor. And as I looked at her feet had a red hue to them. Then she was almost as white as the piece of paper that was in front of me as far as just the color of her opaque flesh. And then the blue vein stuck out, and I immediately thought of Dr. Wilson, red, white, and blue, and the fact that American flag is an anthropomorphic symbol of what it means to be white. It is actually an anthropomorphic symbol of white people, and it is the physical, visual bastion of white supremacy that we partake of every day when we see that flag. Thank you very much, and I'll mute my line.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that, Roz. If other folks have commentary, feel free. 641-715-3640. The code 564943 pound. Press star 6 if you would like to participate. Roz with another illustration of the weeping white women searching for sympathy. Once again, and again, reminded of the importance of keeping documentation. Very, very helpful. Other folks who have commentary that we have you want to share, feel free.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, how you doing, Mr. Gus? I used to follow you on Black Talk Radio. A friend of Matt Frost who just got off, he gave me the information to get on here today, and I appreciate you taking my call. To everyone who is dealing with this workplace racism, believe it or not, there's a very, very simple answer to all of this. Instead of holding your tongue, speak freely. You don't always have to be outlandish and get everybody's attention. What I have found to be good for me, now this may not be good for you, but this is the only information that I have to share. So what I have is that when I have these subtle racist entities entering my space, I always let them know right then and there. No matter if it's some black people there who want to cater to them, or if it's some white people there who pretend to have their backup. I always let them know, hey, I don't play like that. I'm not the person to play with. I don't play with you like that. Don't play with me like that. It's not okay. You always have to let these people know this. Then it's kind of like when you have your children. You know, you let your children know that there's certain places that you don't play and there's certain games that you don't play. You have to let them know that at that particular time, so there will not be another case of that will happen later on. For instance, my own particular incident with workplace racism. I work in a place where we build wreckers. And what I mean by wreckers, I mean they pick up 18-wheelers, they pick up cars. We do all of this type of stuff where I work at. And I was putting the legs of the wreckers into place. And I was having some difficulty with these particular legs on a certain unit. And I kept on hearing things such as you need to line it up because, you know, you have to put pins and stuff in with these particular records. So I kept on hearing that, but, you know, I have my ears set in and I pretend that I don't hear it, but I listen to everything. And then I hear somebody say, you got to line it up, stupid. Now, that's what caught my attention, the line it up, stupid. So I stopped what I'm doing and I looked for the person who said it. And while they giggling with everybody else that done heard it, they giggling and they walking my way because they want to let me know who said it. So when they get there, I state my case. Now, you can criticize me because you believe I'm not doing a good job, but you're not going to call me stupid. That's one thing you're not going to do. So we get into a discussion, and it was like, well, if you're going to be sensitive about the whole matter, I ain't know that's what the case, but, you know, you got to be able to, and I stop them right there at the where you got to understand. Now, I don't have to understand nothing. I'm not going to be stupid about anything. So when I stop it right there, they get offended. And like you said, with this workplace racism, it doesn't matter how we feel, they feel that they're right. So I stop them right there, and I let them know what my background is. And then I proceed to tell them that if you had the background that I had, you wouldn't even be working here. I don't have to tell them why I'm working there. I just have to state that fact. If you had the background that I had, you would not be working here. And some of them know what that means, some of them don't. But the ones who know what it means, all of the questions stop. The ones who don't know what it means, they continue to ask questions. And this particular guy was one of the ones who pretend, I'm not going to say that he don't know, but he pretended like he didn't know what that meant. So I went head on, and this was a teaching moment for me. So what I did is I pulled up my resume. Me, myself, I'm a welder, I'm a small engine mechanic, I'm a pipe fitter, I'm a fabricator. And I'm currently going to school for electronic engineering. So when I pull this up, you get this face like you seen a ghost. Like, why am I working here? And from that point, I began to tell him, listen, you can't talk to me like that. I'm not one of these other white dudes that you normally work with. I'm not none of these black dudes that you normally work with. There's certain ways that you can talk to me. You either going to talk to me like this or you're not going to speak to me at all. But you are not going to call me stupid. That's one thing. And that's one thing that I encourage everybody who's spoken out tonight, gave their whatever their workplace racism was. Always straighten these people out. You don't have to do it in an outlandish way. You don't have to say something to bring attention to yourself. But you always need to nip it in the butt right then, because if you don't, it'll continue to happen. And you'll continue to have these same particular instances every time you turn around, because they believe that you're a target, especially when we're working in places where we're predominantly outnumbered throughout the whole warehouse, company, or what have you. So what happened when I done this, and it had happened or not, it has happened a lot, but never at the same company. Because when I enforce myself, which I'm encouraging everybody who has been on call to do themselves, is that it will stop. If not for nobody else, it will stop for you. When it stops for you, you have to translate that on to the next brother or the next sister that work alongside of you. You have to let them know that they can't be talked to in that manner. And this is what ended up happening. The white guy ended up apologizing, saying that he didn't mean nothing. And I don't take that as being some type of, I don't even know what you call it, because it's not an apology. I don't take it as an apology, but I don't know what other word to use. But I don't take it as an apology, because they knew exactly what they was doing when they done it, because they do it to other people on a regular basis. But when you stand up for yourself, that lets them know that you are not the person that they can throw them darts at. Understand that they respect you to a certain point, and I know a lot of people would disagree with me from that standpoint, but it takes time for them to build up the courage for them to even approach you in that manner. But when you straighten them out, the situation turns all the way different. Now, don't take that the situation not turned. Don't take that as them accepting you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that they will not put themselves in a position to be straightened out by you no more, because they hate to see us put them in their place. So they will not approach you in that manner no more after that. Now, Brother Gus, I would like to know what you have to say about that particular situation, and I'll put myself on mute.
Appreciate that. The only thing I would say, I know Mr. Williams, he has talked about that specifically, saying that the reason that you get information about racism, white supremacy, counter-racism, workplace racism, or any other areas of people activity is to do something, to say something, not just to observe all of this. Oh, yes, he's practicing racism, or he said something racist. And he said specifically the same thing, that on his jobs, that is the code that he has employed. Any sort of, the example you gave where they, said you got calling you stupid, or they're doing anything that is to disparage you or talking down to you, name calling, racist, any of that. So just, hey, I do not participate in, any sort of jokes like that or name calling. I don't participate in any sort of behavior. And just being clear with that up front and being consistent. I know one of the things that I've talked about on this program over the years is just being serious. I think I've said for years to just get a reputation for being someone. I don't participate in a whole lot of gossip. I'm not someone that's in here talking about, who won the football game last night and TV programs and playing pranks on people. That's just not how I behave, and get a reputation for that so that people know, hey, Mr. Johnson, Miss Smith, she does not participate in any of that. She is about her work. She comes in. She is not giggling and laughing and looking to get away and go out and smoke and, talk about all the silliness that's happened in the building. She's not on that at all. Get a reputation for that and being someone who does not put up with a whole lot of goofiness on the job. I think that is always in your favor on the job, victims of racism, white supremacy. Other folks that we have not heard from, at all, have commentary that they wanted to share. Feel free. Line should be open.
Brother Gus, can I add one more thing?
I'm called brother again today. I've said that for years. I would appreciate it if people would not call me brother ever for any reason. Did anybody that we have missed, if you can hang tight, sir, anybody that we have missed completely have commentary?
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Am I coming in clear?
So far, you good.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to say I want to start off this week by saying that I hit some landmarks at work that were significantly positive. And, of course, thing isn't going to be met, isn't necessarily going to be met without scrutiny. Like I reported earlier, I've delegated some of my work tasks to people that are located in places like Bangladesh and Pakistan, and I've had a lot of success with this. I've just been I'm not gonna lie, this is easily one of the best moves that I made. And honestly, like, if I knew about this sooner, I can think of a number of situations where this would have benefited me greatly. But because I've employed the use of these people, my capacity to output a certain, just to output just certain metrics that I was hitting were triggering suspicion within the higher ups, and I've just noticed that they've been like hovering around my desk. And, my manager, he's been sweating. And, but the great thing is that my system that I've created is finally paying off. And I crossed a significant metric. So some of the managers at work, they insisted upon getting me drinks to celebrate. And I don't drink with suspected racists. I don't know how to phrase this, but I don't drink with my coworkers. I've seen this end up badly. So I had to think on my feet to think of a solution to this. And, I volunteered the weakest drink that I could think of. And what was that? I suggested that we drink grapefruit rattlers from Stiegel, and they made fun of me, I guess, because of my drink choice. I am just going to take this just to kind of go along with the flow of things. And one of them went out, purchased a 6-pack of this, and I was consuming the beverages with my management team, and they were all, giving me, the pat on the back and everything. And then one of them mentioned that I was now to be called Deal Boy. And I said, excuse me, I prefer Deal Dude, simply because that alliterates. And on top of that, I really don't ever refer to myself as a boy. And, that was kind of awkward. I don't know how to take that. Earlier in the week, I was told that I was hired to give life to the team, And to lighten things up a little bit, I honestly don't understand where that, where they would get the impression that I would be the one to do that. I suspect that this was, just kind of, I don't know. I don't know how to interpret that because the person who told me this was a non-white person. So, I have no idea. But, and I was questioned about my clothing choice. And so in response, I guess I came to work and I purchased a new shirt that was really colorful so that, I could show that I'm, taking into account, what they're saying and everything. And the CEO of the company walked up to my desk and said, well, this is a very aggressive shirt. And mind you, I'm wearing a zip up that is white, and it has blue jays on it that are standing on trees that are blossoming, or branches that are blossoming flowers. So it's a floral pattern with some birds on it, and it looks nice, bright, and lightens the mood up a little bit, I guess. And I was called aggressive. I was called aggressive for wearing this by the CEO of my firm. And then I also will note that in previous weeks, the CEO has walked by my desk and he called me Sporty Spice in response to a jacket that I was wearing that was just an old LRG jacket from back in the day that has, I like the colors. They look nice on me. They're well within the dress code of the environment, and it fits me well. But yeah, he called me Sporty Spice, and I think it's because he's British. He has a British accent, so imagine all of these comments coming at you in a very snarky British accent. And I don't know, it's just all very awkward. A lot of things are happening to me at work, but at the same time, I'm finding a lot of benefit from taking some of the coins that I'm paid here and spending them overseas in order to get work. So that is, I guess, what I will report for this week. Aggressive for wearing floral patterns. Okay.
Wow. Indeed. That Mr. Fuller, I've heard him talk about that too, where it's just assumed that the niggers are the entertainment committee when they make those sort of comments about you're supposed to liven up the place, like, oh, we'll jokes and maybe do some flips, keep us all feeling pretty good while we're doing our work. That's considered, and that goes right in, with some of the things they were saying, calling you the boy for your performance. I guess that's something to think about as well. We talked about alcohol and how on the job they try to work you into going out to have drinks, either for happy hour or sometimes for lunch. Sometimes they even have the alcohol on the job while you're working. That's one. You can think of a code. We talked about that consistently in terms of this is what I'll say, even if you happen to be in a situation where it's, I've got to have one beverage. This is what I'll get that I know has the least amount of alcohol, and I'll be able to get through the encounter, unscathed. I'll just have one, and that'll be it. I'll have, my excuse ready as to why I can only have one, because I've seen that too, where you get the one, and then they try and get you, well, have a shot of this, or have, 3 more, have another dozen. We just, got another round. It'll all be on me. Of course, nobody has financial problems when it's time to buy alcohol. Other folks that we have not heard from, Jeff, either commentary on what you've heard thus far, your own experience you want to share, other folks?
Can I say something else? And this is kind of embarrassing, but I guess, if you see something, say something. Okay, so something that has been an issue that I don't know, I keep on hearing about in relation to myself is that they keep on, certain elements of, I guess, management are remarking about my pants. And this is just something that has been going on for the duration that I've been there. it seems that, whatever pants I'm wearing, it doesn't seem to be good enough or within the code enough, or, unless I'm really starting to err on maybe I should wear slacks again, but I really don't like slacks after having, been able to wear joggers like everybody else. Everybody else.
What are they saying specifically about your pants? What problem are they saying, is the issue?
You know what? Honestly, honestly, this is really embarrassing. But honestly, I think they're staring at my crotch, man. I really don't like the way that it's being brought up. They keep on talking about, hey, what kind of fabric are those? What are you? What are these joggers made out of? Everybody's wearing joggers, but my joggers are a problem. And they keep on. It just keeps on being brought up. Kind of here and there. And it's really awkward. It keeps on being brought up, but not in a way that is, I don't know. One manager even touched my pants to see, so what kind of fabric are these? And they're just, regular fabric that are, the different kinds of fabrics that they make joggers in. And honestly, I will say this, I could wear jeans, just straight up just start wearing jeans, but I haven't worn jeans since college. I honestly, back in college, I used to wear skinny jeans, and this was a really a challenging style for me to keep up because I had muscular legs. And after I guess the trauma of trying to keep up with that fashion and all of the money that I spent, I don't know. I've bought some really embarrassing jeans in the day. I used to buy, glow in the dark denim, scratch and sniff denim. It was terrible. But I just don't wear denim anymore. And I refuse to. So,
my suggestion, if they're not out and out saying, because I know I've been in workplace situations, either I've worn hats in some workplace situations, and then they had no policy about hats. Then when I started wearing a hat, then it became a policy about, maybe we're going to change the dress code and not allow hats. Unless it's been stated, you can't wear these, or this is a potential issue in terms of a write-up or something like that, or this might be a violation of our policy. If it's not something like that, I would just keep wearing what I'm wearing. Because if it's something else, if they're just, trying to nitpick on you, or they're looking at your groin area or whatever it is, there's that it'll be the same thing. What color is this? So you switched up, you're not wearing the joggers anymore. So I would, unless it's being addressed in a manner that this is incorrect for the workplace, this is not acceptable, you need to wear appropriate. If it's not being addressed in that manner, I would just continue to wear, whatever I'm wearing until I hear otherwise, and then just deal with their little rude comments, which it seems like they're doing that anyway. So, but hang tight one second, Mr. Steele. Other folks that we have not heard from, folks that have a hand up that we haven't heard anything from at all, did you have commentary? You should speak now.
Yes, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Greetings, Gus, all the listeners and callers. That was actually me that had wrote in about the pay discrepancy. And I would like to say proofread before you actually send the email because of the anxiety. I did a rush job and tried to hurry up and send it, and I think I made a few errors. Not exactly sure. And thanks to the caller who mentioned the blind CC, because I actually blind CC the email to Gus so that way he can see the whole conversation between me and the actual employer. And I asked to see the contract to be certain that this is what I'm supposed to be paid. And again, that wasn't provided. So that was on my part-time job, and I'm still trying to get paid properly for that. However, on my full-time job, I'm still being pursued by the white female. She's commenting on how nice I look when I come in, and I'm wearing regular clothes. And she's still overly joyous when she see me. So it's just like the common stuff, but I remain courteous, keep a straight face. I don't even smile back. I just say hi and just keep it moving. Another incident I had was a white male that never talks to me, never said hi before or after the incident. He comes up to me one day, I'm talking to another non-white black male, and he put his arm around me and goes, "Hey, this is my brother." And he says before I can even react, I just want to see his reaction. And I was like, don't do that. And the other male pretty much knows how I feel when it comes to white people. Even though we don't share the same views, he talks to that guy, so he's like, hey, you know, he's not friendly with everybody. He don't joke around with everybody. That's what he said, not friendly. He's like, he don't joke around with everybody. And he was like, he just stays to himself. And the guy let me go. And he was like, I just wanted to joke around with him. And I was like, don't call me brother. I was like, call me blank. This is my name. And he was like, oh, okay, nice to meet you. And he never spoke to me after that. Like, I drive past this guy 101 times. He never spoke to me after that. In fact, we have meetings together. Still never spoke to me. And that was, I believe, a week ago. Today, I'm talking to the supervisor in reference to paperwork that I have to receive to perform my task for the day. The same guy that put his arm around me is standing there with 3 or 4 other white males. They're behind me. And I don't remember exactly what he said verbatim, but he said something about, oh, yeah, it's very colorful in my neighborhood, and you'll be surprised of the crime rate. So I'm not sure if he's saying the black people who committed the crime or the white people who committed the crime. And you'll be shocked that the white people are committing more crimes than the black people. I didn't catch exactly what he was saying. I caught like a decent portion of it. And another incident I had was that these guys, they zip tied these carts that I was supposed to bring over to a specific area. And I think I reported this before because this hasn't happened one time. But this time I notified the supervisor like many times, and the supervisor said that he's going to go over there and talk to the guy. But I catch him over there because I didn't know who did it. I catch him over there with a bunch of the guys, and he has like a smirk on his face talking to him. So the guy that I think did it, which is an older male, I approached him and I was like, hey, do you know who did this? And he was like, no, I didn't do it like that, with a smirk on his face. And I was like, all right, well, do me a favor. I was like, when you find out whoever did it, have them come talk to me because they interfere with my job. And after that, the supervisor came back to me like, hey, what's going on? You know, I talked to those guys. I told them to quit effing around. And he was like, if it ever happens again, let me know. And I told him, I was like, well, it happened multiple times. I was like, I told him that I informed other supervisors. And he was like, oh, well, you know, I never know about it. If it happens again, let me know. So that hasn't happened thus far, but I'm pretty sure it probably will happen again somewhere along the line. But I took pictures, documented everything, and that was pretty much my workplace for that I can remember thus far. On mute.
Excellent job taking pictures, getting documentation. Outstanding. Say that again for the documentation as well, especially if you have to write something. Definitely double check it. You know, make sure it's exactly what you want to say. If you are stressed, because it is stressful. If it's particularly a pay situation and you know you haven't been compensated correctly, you want to get that correct. Take whatever time you need. It can be helpful. I know just for me writing anything that you have to write that is important, it can be helpful if you write it, and then if you have time where you can take a break. Right, so if you write, let's say you write it as soon as you get home. Let's say you get home at 6:30. So you write it. If you can take some time, take a break, maybe come back the next morning or after a few hours, and then come back and read it over again. Any errors, anything that you feel like you can improve, maybe different wording, add a sentence, take a sentence away, it'll be much easier to edit, and then you can make sure it's exactly what you want to say. But that's something that I use. Any writing that's important, try to see if you can get some distance from it, an hour or two, or even another day or so, and then send it. If it's a time-sensitive thing, read it out loud. That's what I do, and particularly if it's something that's short. If it's a document that's only a page, just read it out loud. out to yourself, and you should be able to hear if there's a misspelling or anything that you want to make sure this is perfect. This is the exact way that I want to send it. This is the best that I can do right now. Get a good review in. Actually, before I get to other callers, some people did write in. Other people have written in since we have been live, and then I didn't get to read everything. So one more person wrote in. They said, I recently something every time I listen. I'd like to share something with you. A white female co-worker of mine informs me of the other co-workers who are suspected white supremacists. I'm told of what they discuss in secret, generally just foolishness. They have, in quotes, reverse racist statements, and the suggestion that too many black people are hired on this job, which is just dumb in my area of employment. How would you suggest I continue this work relationship with my coworkers, and particularly with the coworker, white person, who is informing me she considers us friends? So this person has a white woman, I guess, who comes to him and tells him what the other white people are talking about on the office when they make comments complaining that there are too many black people working there or whatever else that they're gossiping about. She'll come and report all of this information, and he wants to know how he should proceed with this white woman who thinks they're friends. My suggestion, number one, keep in the front of your mind that she's probably racist too. Her coming to tell you all of this could just be a ruse so that you do not suspect her and feel like, oh, well, you know, Becky is hooking me up and telling me what's going on and giving me all the juicy gossip that's going down here. Well, I can open up and tell her some of my thoughts too. That could be what's happening. That could be her method for collecting information, for getting gossip from folks. So that would be a big one that I would recommend. Just be very, very careful. And in fact, because the person did say, I think they did say the reverse racist, right? They complain about it too many black people. If they're coming with a lot of nonsense, if there's a lot of gossip and, you know, they were talking about this and, you know, everybody was at Ted's house last night and they were drinking and it was wild and crazy and blah, 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 and I think Becky's going to leave. If it's a whole lot of nonsense, I would just, hey, I'm not even really, you know, I got a whole lot of work to do and things are coming up. I really got to make sure I got everything in line, make sure I get my reviews and everything. I'll have to catch up with you about some of that stuff later. Maybe we can talk about that, you know, down the road after I get caught up on my work. But if it's just a whole lot of nonsense, if it's not constructive information, I would try to minimize that, because that could just be another. Make sure you get a reputation for being someone who does not gossip. This is, you know, someone, I just do not participate in a whole lot of foolishness and just talking about frivolous conversation. If she gets in trouble or anything comes up, a rumor comes around, people get upset about, or someone's been saying something that they shouldn't have that causes conflict, she does all this gossip, you could end up getting indicted where they say, yeah, she and, let's say, Bill, they're sitting around over there talking all day. I bet he was into it. I would be very careful. Sounds like this is someone, or just her being white, period, is enough for her not to be trusted. But with all of this, her coming and saying that they're making comments that might be racist or reverse racist, dangerous. I would be mindful of what she says, what she does, and extremely mindful, underline, highlight what you say, what you do in her presence. Think of her as a racist first and foremost. That'd be what I have to say. Any other folks that we have not heard from, if you want to respond to what folks have written in or shared, feel free. If you have your own commentary, that's fine too.
May I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Peace, everyone. This is Ari. I wanted to share something. I reported a former employer anonymously to the Department of Health a couple months ago for all kinds of things, such as like lack of staff, improper care, and other little things that were all unfortunately true. That was 2 months ago, and just last week I got a call from another victim of racism that I still kept in contact with from there about how a lady came to the place of work and was from the Department of Health and was asking all kinds of questions related to what I reported that caused her to be there for several hours. And when I heard this, I was ecstatic, because this is a small, shady business that was in transition of ownership, and now that's on hold due to the investigation. And by the way, this person was telling me this information, it seemed like a lot of citations were going to be given from the state, the Department of Health, which I think is very little justice to me. They should be shut down, but it's the best I could do at this time. Luckily, I was only there for several months. I'm not quite sure how this former coworker of mine is hanging in there because there was extreme terrorizing going on in that house. She's new to the area, and she just moved from Kansas City, and I think one of the reasons she keeps in contact with me is because I kept it truthful with her on the job. One of my first days there, working with this former non-white coworker, this white lady that was also with us, asked her how do the doctors read her skin test since her skin is so dark. And this was on one of the first couple days I was working with her, and so I didn't say anything. I was just observing. So a couple weeks go by, and I'm still working with this other non-white victim, or this victim, and this white lady is still in the picture terrorizing her. She doesn't treat me like that. So this one time I stood up for her. The white lady told her and was kind of talking to her very bad, saying she should know where the first aid kit is. And I was like, you never showed us. And so I told this lady, if obviously it's something like a first aid kit that you supposedly are saying you showed this woman, then wouldn't we know? And so she didn't say anything. She was kind of shocked that I said anything back. And at this point, my coworker has walked out the room in tears since this white lady was terrorizing her so bad. So I just go back to work like I was supposed to. I didn't think I said anything wrong, just, well, no, you didn't show us. So the white lady goes out, and she makes a phone call, and she's just on the phone for about 5 minutes, speaking in her language, which is Romanian. And at this time, in 5 minutes, my coworker comes back, and she's done crying or whatever she was doing. And then the white lady comes in and shows us the first aid kit like she was supposed to. This is the reason why I reported this place. Out of all the messed up workplaces, this was one and the same, but I'm just tired of nothing happening, so I just thought I'd like to share that. Hopefully something is being done about this place of work. Thanks for letting me share.
For opinion, this when Mr. Fuller, when he's talked about driving up the cost of practicing racism, reporting whites like this. Everything about this is corrupt, right? So, and you would be depending on most likely other racists directly or indirectly to come in and sanction them or put them out of business or, get them whatever punitive action is going to be taken. So even with that in mind, if it makes them have to use more time and energy, cost them some money, makes things more difficult, there is some extra price for their misconduct and practicing racism against the employees. So, Grant, I'm great to hear that your efforts in reporting them paid off, and I would encourage more non-white people to do that sort of thing, because I'm sure if you're observant, paying attention at all, you're seeing all sorts of incorrect things happening all around you on the job. Document, report. Keep your expectations in correct alignment with reality, too. Don't be thinking that this is all going to work out lovely in the end. Keep your expectations in line, but definitely report. Other folks that we have not heard from have commentary?
Can I be heard?
I heard both of you.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The other caller can go first.
Right on. Appreciate that.
All right, thank you. So I want to try to keep this as short as possible, but this was at a time where I was a little more confused about racism and how it operated. And so I was at my job. We had a special project or a special assignment that a group of us were chosen to work on, and this was for our survey scores from the customers. It's a customer service area. And so what took place is that they chose all of these individuals to participate in the group, and we were to come up with different ideas to try and get the survey scores up for the entire site.
one of the things that I did, and this was just it started out initially as a joke, but I ended up putting together a presentation. And in the presentation, what I did was I just kind of came up with something about using empathy in customer service, which is really important. However, the presentation went well. I had my wife to help me, and it went really well, and I think a lot of people didn't expect it. We'll fast forward here to about maybe 8 months later. One white female who was participating in this group assignment I saw in the elevator, and she mentioned that she was mentoring and she was working with new hires. And what she wanted to do was, she said, I really enjoyed the presentation. That was really nice. Do you still have it? And would you mind me sharing the presentation with the new hires, because I think it would be really helpful for them. And, me in my attempt to be helpful or whatever the case is, I was, oh, yeah, not a problem, what's your email? And then I sent her the presentation. And she was working with the hiring manager who, did everything with the new hires, including setting up the new hires with the mentors. And I had spoken with the manager previously, I'd say months before, about potentially mentoring. So I was a little bit reactionary in this, and so I ended up reaching out to the manager and just letting her know, hey, I talked to the white female, and she had the presentation. That's actually a presentation that I set up, and I wanted to talk to you about mentoring again, and have a follow-up on the initial conversation. She set up a time for us to meet, and we talked. So I went to the manager's office, and the girl, the white female, was actually in the office. And when she saw me come in, it was as if, she had this blank look across her face as if she saw a ghost. What ended up happening is that, I saw her on the elevator again probably about a month or so later, and I asked her, well, how did everything go with the presentation, and did the new hires like it? And she just kind of shrugged a little bit, and it was like, yeah, the presentation, it was a lot of good information in there, but she didn't say anything else. And I don't know if this was a direct result, but I have suspicion to believe that that presentation, along with maybe other things that she had done, was something that helped her to get a promotion. When I attempted to bring the presentation to other people's attention, it was kind of brushed off as if, oh yeah, we've already seen that. This is old news. It's not really anything special, because I didn't strike while the iron was hot for me. What I would have done differently is I would have made sure that I made the PowerPoint presentation. I think there's a way where you can go in and adjust it to where it's uneditable, and I would have made sure that I put myself as the creator and the author of the presentation, and ultimately I wouldn't waste a moment of my time or energy helping white people. Thank you for letting me share.
Ashe, that is a hugely important piece. I'm surprised that has not come up on workplace racism before. Any of your, they might call that sort of thing intellectual property, where you make a presentation or you put a project together, and it might be you collate information. Maybe it's a packet of information, you put it all together and it's supposed to help people out or something like that. I know, like personally, non-white people where this sort of thing has happened, and I mean, man, you could not believe where something that they wrote, a project or something that a non-white person wrote and put together, and then now, particularly if it involves writing, like you were saying, this was like a PowerPoint presentation, anything that's done together on a computer, that's images or words or charts, anything like that, someone could just take it on a file and put the same thing out, or copy and paste, and if they need to change a few words here and there and just give it the same thing. Man, I have seen where racists, they are extraordinary, where they can take information like that you did, and they come back and use the same thing and end up getting thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. Situations that I know about where they just took somebody else's, a non-white person's work, when that non-white person didn't get any credit didn't get a cut of the funds, nothing. So anything on a job, if you do it exactly, I might even, where you can get creative with it so that it's branded and it's got your name and information on it, maybe in a small, inconspicuous spot on every slide, so that it'll be no way that they can, claim and take your work and help them get a promotion. In the system of white supremacy. Whites have been doing that since, back in Thomas Jefferson and the plantation days, of just taking credit for things that non-white people do, and they get all the accolades, or they get the promotion, the reward, the raise, and everything, and we're just on the sideline like, man, I did all that work, and, my lunch break, got to go back to, that's what they've been doing for centuries. Retired firefighter, thank you for your patience, sir. Did you have a comment?
Yes, stealing, one of the main byproducts of a white person. I'm almost sure that the caller will not make that mistake again. It sounds like it, and it sounds like he's prepared to, when the opportunity comes up again, that he will he knows exactly what to do. The female caller, it was very gratifying to hear her report as far as, hey, you need to show us the workers on where this item is before you go about the means of criticizing someone for it. That was right razor sharp codification and understanding in the workplace, which is one of the means to help non-white black people carry through their workday in the most proficient manner as possible, and that shows that a non-white black person is learning. Very important. With me, directly in the workplace, I normally go out to the school in around the afternoon, mid-afternoon time, and just sit with the head coach, and we just have conversation while he's been on the job so long. They basically leave him alone, non-white black male, leave him alone, so to speak, so we basically take advantage of it by just having constructive conversation over different things, and enter into the conversation is also this past couple of days ago was the musical director, non-white black female, former member of the Florida A&M Marching 100. So she knows what she's doing in terms of music. I'm not talking about that incident that took place. And very much a constructive conversation. I didn't directly talk about race, but we talked about things that can be assumed as being products of justice, speaking about the arts and how the arts needs importing the arts are industrial as well as fine arts in the schools, and how it benefits non-white black children. Constructive conversations such as that, and that's within the workplace itself. It's just us three was sitting and talking. So that's something, positive, basically as far as terrible stories that oftentimes happens in the workplace. There has been conflict at this place more so than the other places, schools that I've been at. It's quite an old one down here in what is called South Florida, with the people that came in from the place on the earth that's called Cuba. I've always had a question with some of them on what would be their racial classification. The Marco Rubio look, I would guess that for the most part, they identify themselves as quote-unquote white Hispanic. But there is some clashing between themselves and people who are generally understood primarily as simply as white. And that's happening out at the school that I work at on a part-time basis, you might say. And quite interesting. I just observe it. Being that the principal is of the make that I mentioned prior, white, quote-unquote, Hispanic, he is he's the CEO, he has been constantly giving the white male athletic director just giving him a hard time, so to speak. I just sit there and observe it. With this kind of like warring back and forth that I notice between the two, and it doesn't really haven't impacted what I do or anything, but just observing type of situation that I've been observing since I've been there with him, as well as the white male who is the assistant athletic director that I talked about before, that's married to the black female that kind of like took himself off the coaching staff, the varsity coaching staff, after a meeting that I was involved in, and I kind of like put him on the spot, and questioned him on how dare you not want to help the quarterback who happens to be a young black male, and you claim to be a member of the staff, and he walked out of the meeting. Just observe it. Just mention about that particular situation that still is evolving within the workplace that I'm on, and what else? Other than that, just business as usual. I would say I'm also involved in something else that I kind of like don't feel comfortable with calling it work, because basically what I do on Saturdays is go and meet with a bunch of non-white black children, and we just share with each other. It's a program that's called a mentoring program. That I'm not a fan of the word mentoring, but I'm not really the person who started the organization. I'm just one of the people that get a chance to share with the young people, and that's like just enormously gratifying to be able to do it. And the younger I find out the younger they are, the more attentive they are, as far as that's concerned. And it's also gratifying that the relationship that we have with the parents who are willing to trust us with their children. And this is from something like 10 in the morning until 4 p.m. So we have a great deal of time around them, basically, that we share with them, and myself and a few others, we share with them in more or less direct terms Mr. Fuller's codified counter-racist system also in the process. So, that's my general work that I normally do during the course of the week. And thank everybody for listening.
Wowee. Lots of folks having constructive conversation on the job with other victims of racism. That is outstanding and courageous. Right on.
It's an art. It's an art that one has to kind of like pick and choose on when and where. Be careful. That's it.
Absolutely. Take precaution. Two other people wrote in since we've been on the air. First person, this is a black female. She's a teacher. She says, at the institution where I teach, there are 5 females, and the other 2 are white male and white female. It seems like any and every decision to be made, the white male teacher thinks he is in charge of everyone. I do not like it and feel like this white male teacher invades on my space. Let me remind you, he is not our supervisor. Our supervisor is a non-white black female. Recently, I am sitting at my desk reading a book during my break, and the white male teacher walked up to me out of nowhere, paused, and asked, "What are you reading?" At that moment, I had to catch myself before I answered in a sarcastic manner. I simply responded and said, "A book." The white male teacher responded by asking what type of book I was reading and why I was reading it. Well, it was a school book from where I go to class online in the evenings. To cut the response short, I will say this to the callers. In order to avoid the raft of white people, make sure all papers or contents on your desk is work-related. Never bring anything home to work, such as photos, magazines, personal belongings. If you must have, please keep it in your car. White people are nosy. They think they are your parent. They have no respect for your privacy, and as a matter of fact, they will go into your belongings if they can. Although I was on my personal break, you never know how things can be used against you in the future. For example, the white male worker could easily tell the principal that I am doing homework during work time. You never know what lies will be pinned on you. This is a lesson well learned. Try to be as vague as possible when white people are trying to pry into your personal life. The other portion I would like to say is that it's important to stay codified in any manner dealing with white people. What do I mean codified? I mean always be courteous, but always have your words rehearsed as to what to say when these people invade you, even if you have to stand at home in your mirror and rehearse various scenarios. For example, this white female at my job has started bringing me food at work, that she prepared at home. Okay, I feel like she is. I do not like her coming to my desk and gossiping about the other teachers. Now I tell her, no thank you, I am now vegan, or I am on a diet, or something to let her know that I am not interested in eating her food. You cannot worry about if you have offended someone. This is an invasion of my personal space and time. So now when she comes to my desk, I tell her, look, I'm grading papers or working on a deadline. I have no interest in going out to lunch with, sitting in the break room, gossiping, or sharing food with anyone at work. Another pet peeve is when someone asks, where are you going for lunch? Do you mind if I catch a ride? Or can you go out and get me this, that, and a burger? No, I am not hired to be anyone's companion, and I'm not on a mission to run other people's errands and pick up their lunch. This is my personal time to refresh my mind. More important, always hold your head straight and look all people in their eyes when communicating. Avoiding eye contact or having deviated glances is the quickest way for white people to find weaknesses in you. Avoid the silly talk from other coworkers and just remain as quiet as possible. For me, I do not like a lot of attention because the women I work with like to draw attention to new hairstyles, clothes, etc. So to avoid all the unwanted attention, try to stay in the background. It's not wise to draw a lot of attention from coworkers. End of her commentary. I will say, the remarks about not bringing personal items, books, photos, other little knickknacks that you're going to have on your desk, that sounds strangely familiar. I feel I've heard someone else give the exact same recommendation for the same reason. Racists are nosy. They will be rifling through whatever it is you have on your desk, drawers, items you leave at your workstation. It should all be work-related, nothing personal. Assume that everyone in the world, they're going to have a YouTube camera and they're going to live stream as they look through every single item, scan for fingerprints and everything else on your desk area. That's the way that you should think, and anything that you might have on your computer if you have one at your workstation as well. Now, the other person wrote in since we went live, and this person wants suggestions specifically. I'm so miserable at and non-white coworkers. I always hear them making jokes about me. I even hear them making bang bang gun noises. I feel like they want to murder me. I want to leave this job badly, but I need the money. I'm also fearful that if I leave, it may be difficult for me to find another job. Jobs are not easy to come by for black people. She's asking for suggestions. I think we've had a number of non-white people who've been in this situation where they're on jobs and they're being terrorized and they absolutely hate it. Maybe everybody here, even the folks that are making, a substantial number of nickels. But one of the things that you can do, you said, and definitely keeping your resume updated when you're on these type of jobs that you absolutely hate. I always think it's important as well to make an assessment. Is this a job that you took thinking I'm going to be on this job for 5 years? I want to be on this job for 10 years. I want to be on this job until I'm ready to retire. Or was this a job that you said, this is something that I can do for a brief period of time? Just what was your initial thought process going into the job? And if you hate it this much, it doesn't sound like a place that you are probably going to want to stay for a long period of time. That doesn't mean that you're going to be able to find a work environment that is phenomenal and does not have racism. But certainly, I think I would be trying to find something that is a little bit better. I don't think I'd want to go to a place where you legitimately feel like your coworkers want to seriously injure you and are making threatening, intimidating remarks all the time, and you just hate being there. If there's nothing constructive about this environment and you're not looking for a long-term career, I would just really focus my energy, because that's something else racists do as well. They just get us focused in the job that we hate, and we kind of lose focus on other things and trying to extricate ourselves from that. So instead of waiting for it to get worse, I would be really proactive about finding better employment, whatever that means. I would be super on it, diligently looking, updating the resume, and finding a better way to be able to make the money that we all need to be able to survive. But if folks had suggestions, this is a black female having some difficulties on the job. Any suggestions for how you would deal with this situation?
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
First, I would document specifically. Perhaps you have, but if you haven't, I would, because I feel that bang bang noises and all of that, in a way, depending on how you word it, you can find verbiage within your code of conduct or guideline handbook for the company that you work at. Like that is a form of harassment. They may not have the terminology like terrorism on the job or anything like that, but that is a form of harassment. And so, the reason I say that is because having documentation, you can always present that. Like if you're good at your job, you know that you work well. If these people are just like unilateral coworkers and are not supervisors or anything like that, I don't know what kind of company you work for, but perhaps you don't even need to find a whole new job, but just relocation or a transfer. I know white people usually get that, but to keep your options open, it might be possible that you could get that as well if you all have different branches or something like that in the nearby area or something. But you would need to have legitimate documentation to, to say, well, I don't think this is a good work environment for me, or, we're not cohesive, this isn't a cohesive work environment. We're not really functioning as a team. These are some of the instances that have led me to, reevaluate the health of this environment, or that it's not bearing on my mental health. Nowadays, you can talk a little bit more about mental health in work environments. So I think, and then if you have a supervisor, Gus, really quick, are these people supervisors? Did they specify in the email, or are these just coworkers?
I don't see any reference to supervisors, so I will, at least for right now, suspect that these are coworkers.
Okay, so maybe you have someone who is in a higher position who you could reach out to and just speak to them. I don't think that you have to suffer silently because if these people are unilateral, I'm speaking like if they're just like regular coworkers, I think you can bring that to the attention of supervisors. That's what their job is. And just as you do it, make sure that it is very professional, unemotional, that you're not like shaking and crying, telling the story, just so that what you're trying to say comes across. and go ahead and start having these conversations with the people that are above them, that supervise you, because that's their job. Their job is to make sure the work environment is a safe place for everyone, and the goal, mission, whatever of the company gets accomplished, and that this is an efficient place for us to do the work that we come here to do. And so I think that might be good, because I'm not really sure if you've done that. If you have that person there, hopefully you all have a professional work environment, like a work relationship. I think that would be good. I also think that if you, like, sometimes there are some resources that companies have that some folks aren't necessarily always aware of, like mental health services, like people that you can reach out that deal specifically with that. I'm talking to you this way because I think that's just a very, like, toxic environment. So to me, it just seems like every time you would hear something like that, it's like now your anxiety level is high and your stress level is high, and it's just really, really bad. And you really shouldn't have to jump ship if you don't have your next, that's a metaphor. You don't have, like, if you're not prepared to leave, then there must be some way to at least try to remedy. And so I think that reaching out to some of those resources, like even one way you could do it is finding the supervisor and being like, I'm not really trying to create any conflict, but the environment is just not feeling conducive. You know, like, don't go in there as if you're trying to gossip, but really like, hey, I'm reaching out for some resources. Is there someone that I can talk to about this? How do I best handle the situation? Such and such. I'm not really sure what to do about it. I've endured it for as long as I can, but I'm really about the mission of the company. I'd like to be able to be the team player, but, you know, I don't really know what's going on. This, such and such, and even if you can think back in your memory of a couple of times, you could still retroactively write that and present your case to the supervisor and speak to the supervisor. That way, you never know, you might be able to get some assistance. I agree with Gus in keeping your resume, and if this is just not going to work at all, be like actively and excitedly looking for your next move. In which case, if you know you're going to make the next move, all that's going on here, go ahead and like shift your focus. Document it, understand it, study it, be that counter-racist scientist, professional soldier that we always talk about here, and don't allow that to wear down on your mental health at all. Go ahead and just like shift your focus and begin moving in that direction. But if you want to stay here, there are some other ways. Like, you don't just have to be there and them terrorizing you that way. I hope some of what I said was helpful.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree with MA. I think she gave some brilliant suggestions. What I would also do is I would record what they're doing as far as the gun noises and the threats. And I would go to HR. And after looking at the company policy, if you haven't done so already, about harassment and on the job, unwanted on the job contact, and I would go to HR and say, you know, this is what they're doing. They're making these gun sounds. They're making veiled threats in the form of these sounds or whatever other things that they're saying. I would let them listen to the recording and say, I take that very seriously. We live in a country in which people come on the job and murder their coworkers, and I'm not trying to lose my life just to come into this job simply because I have coworkers who have been who have been essentially warning me of what they might potentially do, and based on the work policy, and they might come out later and say, oh, well, we were just joking or whatever the case may be. And the whole idea about the way those manuals are normally written, it's not about whether the person's intention was to supposedly a joke or not. It's really about the recipient. It's no different than with unwanted sexual contact. That person's quote unquote intentions might not have been in their, as far as what they're saying, especially with white people, they're liars. But they might say that, oh, well, that wasn't my intention. It's about how I'm receiving what's being done to me. And in a situation like that, it's the same thing. I don't care if they come later like, yeah, we were just joking. No, there is no joke in playing around on the job about potentially shooting me. Because the whole idea is this can go the other way. What if I choose to go learn how to shoot a gun, and the next time they make a veiled threat, I shoot them because I'm like, hey, I'm going to shoot you first before you shoot me. So this can really escalate. And I would say I take something like that extremely seriously, and I want to address this immediately and involve HR immediately. And if you can record them doing and saying what they're doing and saying, that is one of the best pieces of evidence you can have. And even if they try to say, well, oh, this was a joke and blah, 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 regardless, this is how I'm receiving what you're doing. It is being received in a hostile manner as far as the way that I feel about what's being done, and I prefer for you to stop what you're doing immediately. Thank you, and I'll mute my line.
Any other suggestions? Yes, sir.
Okay, so with respect to the person that's receiving threats in the workplace, if it is getting that bad, you may want to report, you want to document and then report everything to Human Resources and update your LinkedIn profile. There's this idea that because it's hard for black people to find employment, it's impossible for black people to find employment, and that's simply not the case. You found a job before, you're going to have to find another job, and if you have to, I prefer to be fired from these jobs or laid off, as they say, simply because at that point you can collect unemployment insurance for a period of time. And if you are a single person and you don't have any dependents to take care of, oftentimes unemployment insurance is is adequate if you're not trying to entertain yourself or go too crazy with your spending, and if you've saved some money. Also, I noted that caller earlier said that they were having problems with too many tasks delegated to them by people who weren't responsible for delegating tasks. One thing that solves a lot of these problems is asking communications to be sent to you in writing. Just simply ask for an email. Ask for an email. Anytime you get a new task at work, ask for an email and then ask for an explanation as to how you execute that task. And then you create a paper trail on them. If you can create a paper trail on your managers not doing their job, oftentimes we, victims of racism, are in situations where the people who are managing us are answering to people who are above them, who are accessible and oftentimes removed from the situations that we present to them. So if it's demonstrable that you are being asked to perform above and beyond everybody else that you're working with, having that documentation is key for making that claim. And then also, it was brought up about intellectual property. You may want to look into how to create watermarks in the various programs in the Microsoft Office suite. Watermarks are a great way to basically claim ownership of every single page of a document without being intrusive, but at the same time it definitely shows that who is the owner of that property. And then also another thing is that if you have good suggestions or good ideas, one good thing that you can do, one good practice on the job that you can do is break down your process for how you execute that good idea and then email it using the CC function to all of the managers and then all of their managers in the respective areas and then even the CEO. Because if you have a really good idea and if it's, and if it's worth sharing, you want to get that documented. You want it to be documented that you were the person that laid out the steps on how to execute that idea, just so that it can't be taken from you as, this is the bad, this is my idea. I came up with it myself. I've recently done this. Now, I've received some scrutiny for my self-reporting, but at the same time,
I've just received some net benefits from it because, I gained some credibility with the correct people, and it's just affording me a little bit more freedom a little bit less scrutiny in some other areas of my task. And then finally, the real estate gentleman that is a regular contributor to the program, if he is listening, I do have a suggestion. Look, I didn't know this, but you have an afro, and apparently you know how to instruct large groups of people, and you own your own business. One thing that was noted by your call is that real estate is one of the few professions where your physical presence and the visual of yourself is key to your success on the job. And one thing that I noted was that real estate professionals are one of the few professions where people have their photo on their business card and on billboards even. And, the physical presence oftentimes can become, a very distinct marker for that business. I'm saying this: you may want to look into recording some sessions that you have with large groups of people, instructing people, and you may want to look into, getting yourself on some reality television program, because if you are a black person with an afro that is successful in real estate, they're going to want, and people are already, trying to showcase you. You might as well capitalize on that and get a few more coins out of the whole ordeal and some notoriety. That just seems like a slam dunk situation from a media perspective. So you might want to look into that. Thank you so much. I'll mute my line.
Right on. We have less than 10 minutes. Is anyone that we missed totally who has a hand up that we have not heard from at all? Anybody that we missed completely who has a hand up that we didn't get to hear from at all? Caller at 1745. Do you have commentary? We get everybody? Grand. I think we might have gotten everybody. Maybe I didn't make too many errors on the first day with the new switchboard. The caller at last four digits, 1745. Did you have commentary, or are you just listening?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. Yeah, real quick. I'll be quick. I'm at the hotel. I work at the hotel. Our district manager's our general manager's on maternity leave. She selected a sit-in. I guess she identifies with Asian. The Asian lady is doing absolutely nothing. The hotel's been going to the ground ever since I got there. So I kind of communicate with the district manager, the one who's over our branch, and maybe 11 others. And and that's maybe to order supplies. So in the midst of this, one of the representatives and one of the housekeepers apparently were sleeping at the hotel. So everybody knows I might find out about stuff just in passing because of my shift, because I work tonight. And so it became a mess because it became sloppy. The housekeeper and one of the representatives, I think, she has two children with young girl, 21, has two children with the housekeeper's son. Just real, just out of control a bit, and smoke in the halls, smoke in the rooms, and it's a non-smoking hotel. They take smoke detectors off and just kind of dismantle the room, so you have to put work orders in. So our district manager sees all these rooms on work orders. So Tuesday night, the district manager came. Now, I'm sure that the Asian lady told her that they are staying there, but she's telling them, all you got to do is just let me know if you need somewhere to stay. All you got to do is just let me know. And she's telling our general manager via text or phone, and she's on maternity leave. So they kind of set the people up instead of just saying, look, don't do this, or I'll let you have these rooms. They never did that. It's just like word of mouth. Oh, all you have to do is just tell me, and I'll just let me know every day where you are. That's not what happened. So anyway, our district manager came Tuesday night on my shift. It's like maybe 11
a little after 11. And I don't see her often, so I didn't recognize her. I just thought she was just any other Caucasian lady. So she said something to me about my overtime, and then she asked me to print out the vacant room list. So I printed it out. And there's a lot of dirty rooms that should have been cleaned way before I got there. All that stuff should be together, but it's not. It's like maybe 10 dirty rooms, and she's like, well, why are these rooms dirty? I was like, I don't know. I ask when I get here, but I don't know why they're dirty. So she's I'm going to go check these rooms. So she's checking for the people in there sleeping in there. So she said, give me the master key and the sheet, and I gave it to her. And she said, if the guests that are standing right here, you give them these 2 rooms, and I'm going to check all these other rooms. And so that's what I did. So she came back down and said, print me a key for 306. So in between that, the girl that I just relieved called down and said, who's trying to get in room whatever? And I said, what? And she's like, who's trying to get in room whatever the room is? I said, I don't know, but Alex is here, the district manager's here. She said, who? And I kept saying her name. And she said, the white lady? I said, yeah, it's white. So I guess she didn't have enough time to get out and do whatever, so I guess she got caught in the room. So they ended up getting suspended, and the manager said don't allow them on the premises anymore. And I said, oh, okay. So then the following day, everyone's acting like, oh, the lady that told acted like she knew she was coming at that time, but she really didn't. So they washed the cameras back. So the first thing she sees me, because I put my gloves on every time I get in there because it's so nasty. So she said, why she has gloves on to count the money? And then they were like, well, she doesn't want to catch germs because it's anything I do is just stand out. Now you're checking to see who came with the district manager, but instead you notice that I have gloves on. Just little silly stuff, but I just thought that was a trip how they kind of set them up like that. Instead of either helping them or telling them not to do it, they kind of set them up to where they basically got fired because the housekeeper called herself resigning, but she was actually suspended, so after that they would have fired her anyway. So that's my workplace racism, and thank you for taking my call.
Wow. The tackiness all the time in the workplace. I said that consistently, even if you don't, if you're not like directly being harmed or what have you, fine. You can just take notes and watch other things that are happening on the job, particularly if you're in an environment where other incorrect things are happening. You can switch. You can even have 2 separate sections just for, racist activity that's pertinent, and then you can have another section that's just dealing with general incorrectness in the workplace, which may end up benefiting you as well. But that, and even I think this has come up repeatedly, you really have to take that seriously, that under the system of white supremacy, we're under constant surveillance. Now, you got other people, they're not following rules and regulations. Sounds like they're not even doing basic sanitation, custodial work in this place that you talked to us about before. We can't, stop and get all of that corrected so that we can take better care of the hotel and the clients. We're watching video to close up. Oh, she's got video on. She's got gloves on. Look at that. She's wearing gloves on while she's counting. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Am I the source of the investigation? Or are we, looking for something else? Like, that's just consistent. The amount of scrutiny that black people are subject to, and it goes back what I've said in the workplace. You want to keep that in mind in terms of what you wear, the way you conduct yourself, what you have at your work area, all of that. Just keep that in mind. You are around racists who are going to be looking at you for every single detail, sentence, anything, just getting more and more information so that can be used to further abuse and mistreat you. So keep that in mind with what you say, how you conduct yourself on the job. Just have that person who was saying that they had a book and race soldier came up and wanted all this information. When did the book come out? What edition is that? Who wrote it? Book jacket. I think we said that before too. You can get a book jacket for free. Get a book jacket, cover your book if you're going to read at work, and I would even say try to go to your car, or if you can exit, go someplace where you can be by yourself and read. That way you don't have people snooping and nosing into what it is that you're trying to read. With that, we did our 3-hour Negro, Vincent Woodard. Again, we are closing on the conclusion of the text. The last few sessions, I think we might have 3 3, maybe 4, before we wrap things up, but we are definitely getting close. But it'll be same program time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. The Delectable Negro, tomorrow's segment on the Virginia legend, Nat Turner, and what happened when racists finally were able to stop his rebellion in 1831, if memory serves. But that'll be tomorrow. Compensatory call-in will be this coming Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific. If you have questions, commentary, feel free to chime in. You can email untiljustice@gmail.com if you have anything that you would like to share. If you can't find something in the archives, you have a guest suggestion, if you want to try to see if there are COWS listeners in your geographic location, that's fine as well. Get that reminder out also. If you want to meet other folks in your location, you can drop us an email and just put your area, let's say Toronto. You can put that in the subject. Toronto contact, California contact, London contact. We have folks in a lot of different areas, so we'll see if you have any folks in your city. And if you are willing to do that, we'll exchange email information, and you all can have contact and see if that will help in your effort to counter racism. Have direct folks in your area you can speak to about these issues. With that, I will state again, sobriety would be best under conditions of white supremacy. We do not need alcohol, tobacco, any other narcotics, any new stuff that they crank out. None of that. The evidence shows none of that has helped us solve this problem thus far. In my view, the evidence overwhelmingly suggests that a lot of these substances, they have helped racists keep their foot on black people's neck. You do not want to bump into any race soldier badge or no and have that be the time that you're under the influence. I do not think you being intoxicated is going to help neutralize racist man, racist woman, racist child. It hasn't helped us solve this problem thus far. Dr. Welsing and others would. That's it. Creator, we ask that you help us remain patient with other black people, victims of white supremacy. We ask that you help us remain patient with ourselves. Remind us to demonstrate the highest levels of black self-respect at all times, in all places, each and every time we are in contact with another black person. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cal signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. Problem. You're a victim. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Mm-hmm. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.